love my girl. Hey, it's the Bennington Show on a Mindy. I'm Ron Bennington. There's Gail Bennington.
Yo.
And I am Ron Bennington. Chris Stanley not wearing his Yankees cap tonight. Lord still wearing his out in the hall. Real fan versus bandwagon jumper.
That's the difference. That is the true difference.
Vito is still wearing his Mets cap, even though that team of his means nothing to even the people of Queens. True fan, bandwagon jumper. Tonight is the big unmasked that we're going to have the champion of the world, the next president of the United States, Judah Freelander.
Woo!
I got a chance to see that do-it-yourself special that he sold to Netflix. It's one of my fucking favorites of all time.
I cannot wait for this
so
one.
funny, and it's so different than anything you've ever seen. I'm going to probably... I shouldn't talk about it now. I should save it for the Unmasked, because then I'll have nothing. I'll be at the Unmasked and just go back and listen to the Monday show. We are still in, I'd say, Labor Day weather here with 1 week left in October. In the city, I don't even see the leaves changing at all.
No. It's really weird. Like, we're late October. Normally by Halloween, it's like that thing, like, you try to work your coat or your jacket into your Halloween costume.
Yes.
It's sweaty out there.
Dude, speaking of which, I'm downtown the other night in New York. I see a lot of kids walking around in their costumes already. What the fuck?
Yeah, it happens pretty early. I saw a little dinosaur walking around.
That's not real. That's a kid dressed up.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm very sure.
It looked really scary.
Jurassic Park is bullshit. I know that for a fact. that was all computer images that they used. They create that in a computer or laptop for the technical people out there. And the reason we call it a laptop, the top of it goes on your lap. That's where I put it. It's really, if you're going to be honest, a lap bottom.
And that's not good for your balls, by the way.
They say it actually gives you strength that you need.
What?
Oh, wow.
Carl Lewis kept a laptop on his balls, ended up winning 6 straight Olympic gold medals. Why? Technology, ladies and gentlemen. Technology. Art in Wayne. What's up, buddy? Welcome to Bennington.
Thanks, Ronnie. $1 million.
$1 million to you, my friend. $1 million.
Hey, so I was listening on the news, and there seems to be some kind of serial killer running around Tampa. And I checked it out. It's in, I think, something called Seminole Heights, which is about 25 minutes away from Pinellas Park. Just wondering if our friend Fezzi had any concerns. Have you heard from him today?
Why would he be concerned when he is, in fact, the Seminole Heights killer?
Oh, my God.
Yes. You know, it's very funny that you bring this up because I have been watching this show on the Netflix, which is a great way not to have a cold. Use a Netflix. You just put it in one nostril, comes out, flicks out the other. And I'm like, oh, whatever happened to all of our great serial killers? You don't hear about them anymore. Seminole Heights serial killer, one of the worst I've ever heard. I mean, that's not a good name. I would change his name to the Bloody Stump. But it doesn't seem we've given up serial killers for mass killers.
Yeah.
The old-fashioned serial killer now just tries to take care of it all in one afternoon.
And the serial killer, I think, is a much more interesting character.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Look at this, the Mad Dog. That's not as good.
No,
But
Mad
she's
Dog.
like, I'm a genius.
Yeah.
I'm tortured.
Right. With the serial killer, that gives him time to take trophies from his victims. But I've never even heard of this serial killer that Art from Wayne brought up. Kyle in New Jersey. Kyle.
Hey, Ronnie.
Yeah.
I was watching the Pepper's Instagram video from over the weekend, and I wanted to know what happened to the people in the house that he was into.
Kyle, we can't speak about this because this is a pre-taped from Friday. So I have no idea what you're talking about right now. I imagine, if anything, you're giving him the idea to do this. And let's go Yankees. I think they're going to win it all. What happened, Chris? I did not get a chance to see your gram.
I was on the Instagram video on Bennington SXM on Instagram, and I was live streaming before the Yankees loss on Friday, and I was at an Airbnb, and people seemed to think that I had murdered an entire family.
Why were you at an Airbnb?
I was on Long Island for the weekend with my girlfriend.
What were you doing? Went out to see Teddy Roosevelt's house?
Wine country. Long Island wine country.
So...
It's Wine County.
Yeah. So you had a very romantic...
A sexy weekend?
Yeah.
Long Island, Wine County trip.
Right, the beautiful North Fork of Long Island.
How was your Airbnb?
It was nice. It was a very large house, and everyone seemed to think I killed a family.
What did you drop on that?
I think it was 300 a night for like a giant house.
No, you went out by just the two of you?
She had some of her friends come.
Okay, so it makes sense to have a giant house.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you guys used that occasion to make meth?
No, we weren't making meth. We were just
because this is the smart thing to do. You make meth in your Airbnbs.
That's a great idea.
Wow, that is really smart.
Thanks. It's an idea that I'm coming up with called Breaking Nasty. And it's just a female meth maker who goes out to Airbnbs. So this was did you pop the question out there?
No, I didn't pop the question.
Oh.
Did you pop the coochie?
I'm not talking.
That coochie.
Pop that coochie.
I'm not talking about any coochie pop.
Look how Jen gets happy anytime we do even the slightest hip hop. 30-year-old hip hop, and she's like, "They're getting it. Here they go. They're getting it."
So did you pop that coochie?
Hey, oh my God, Ricky Gervais coming in to the studio.
Hi.
Good to see you, buddy.
Hello, man.
How's everything?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Good. How about you?
Good, yeah.
Hi, I'm Gail.
Hello.
Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
how's it going? Hey, man.
How's it
Hi.
going?
What did you say? Hello? Are you on air at the moment?
Yeah, we're on air. Sure, but you want to pop in and say hi?
Yeah, sure.
Great to see you. How's everything going?
Yeah, good. Very good. Yeah. I don't know what to say, really. He just said go in there and say hello. I thought,
Well, that's
is this rude?
No, it isn't rude at all. It's great to see you, man. What's up lately?
Right. What am I doing here? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm playing theatre at Madison Square Garden on Wednesday.
How great is that, man?
I love that place.
You've done it before.
Yeah, I've done it a few times before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. I love playing New York. And then I'm off to LA doing 3 nights of the Dolby.
And leaping over the entire center of the country.
I have done that. I know. I called it a world tour. Right? So one, it's just North America and Europe. This world tour. The Southern Hemisphere didn't get a look in. And when I say America, you're right. I mean, New York, Chicago, LA. San Francisco, very close together. All these things, very good. Yeah, I know. I don't. It's not because I'm leaving them out. It's like time. I'm doing other things, and so you've got to go to the places where you can probably play to the most people in the shortest amount of time as well. But no, I did want to do others, and I will be back. But yeah, it's not a snobby thing. It's not me saying they don't deserve me. I want to, you know what I mean? I do want to play everywhere, and that's like in England it's more extensive, obviously, because I live in London and I do Europe. But again, it's very selective.
Yeah, but with England, you can get out to places and come home that night. America,
well, I can. Yeah, of course. Relatively, it's like. Places that I go and stay in a hotel, in places like LA, they drive that far to a bar that night. It's 20 miles down Sunset. I think, that's a holiday. What do you mean 20 miles? In England, we go to the pub at the end of our street, and that's it. It's crazy. The size of America is mad. It never ends.
It really is. And have you ever driven it? That's the real madness.
No, I've like Route 66 type stuff.
Yeah.
And, I do want to do those things. I do want to go into the desert. I want to. I really love to. All the movies you see when it's like a little diner in the middle of nowhere, where you know that someone's going to be murdered, and dumped in the back. Right.
I drove the first time I drove across the country. I was 17, me and a buddy, and I'm just like, holy shit! We've been driving 8 hours, and I'm just saying corn. What the hell is going? This is not as exciting as I wanted it to be. And the desert is great for a while, but then to travel through it.
But it's so weird because the world is so big, but so accessible. You can't see it all, right? And, but even places I played for the first time in Europe that are like 2 hours away on a plane, right?
Yes.
Like Copenhagen, Reykjavik. They're out of this. They're not like anything else. Everyone I fall in love with, and I just think, well, there's bits of that everywhere in the world. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just because we're lazy, and we are lazy. Brits are lazy, Americans are lazy. We don't even learn another language. We go there and they speak perfect English.
It's embarrassing.
I know. I'm playing people in Copenhagen. There's 13,000 people that speak English as well as I do, and there's no concession. I just go in. I just talk English in Europe. If they don't understand me, I get angry and point. No, that one.
Yeah.
You know, it's so arrogant and lazy just because everyone speaks English. You know?
But it's, it's one thing when a rock band does that because the music is international.
Yeah.
But when you were doing comedy, even you growing up in England, coming into Chicago, there could be references and phrases that are different.
They're not as important enough, and you probably know them just because everyone watches every show anywhere in the world now on the internet, Netflix. I don't have to change tap to faucet or, paedophile to pedophile. A lot of that. That one got in. Yeah. That was the second reference I gave. Americans think are so different. Yeah, they have pedophiles, we have paedophiles. And also, when you're dealing with the big issues like AIDS, cancer, Hitler, the Holocaust, honestly, everyone's the same.
I love the fact that that's your set list. AIDS, Hitler.
Back of the hand. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Well, what else is there? What else is there to talk about?
In Germany, this was this great Robin Williams quote. He was over in Germany, and they were saying, we don't really have stand-up comedians like you do, and he says, why is that? And Robin Williams just goes, well, you killed them.
Oh, that's amazing.
I never forget that.
That's
line.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm playing Berlin in December, and I've got quite a extended Hitler bit. So they're going to love that.
Yeah.
Well, they are, though, because if people think, you're not going to do the Hitler bit, I go, well, of course I am. They don't like him either.
Yeah, right.
Like all these Germans going around going, why do people make fun of Hitler? He's our favourite.
Yeah.
They hate him too.
Right.
It's like...
Yeah. And people are always saying, like, how do they, carry the Hitler thing? And I go, well, we're carrying the slavery thing pretty well.
Oh, we're carrying everything. Everyone carries everything. It's crazy. Yeah.
But they seem to come to terms with it better. Yes. Like, they're just like, let's not forget that this happened. Well, let's bring it up every once in a while.
Is it Germany or is it somewhere else where you can't do the salute?
Right.
That is Germany. Yeah, that's true.
Because they know how catchy it is. Like, people are like, that is kind of fun.
Oh, there's a bit where I do that in the show, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe I will get arrested.
Yes. Like Lenny Bruce, it'll work for you.
Oh, my God. I've got to ask someone. Yeah.
But if you've ever done it, you're like, it feels good just to throw that arm out there like that. That's a powerful feeling.
I do it a lot higher than that. You seem to be apologising for it. You're really... Where are you from? Where are your parents from? Can I ask? You seem to be doing very, very low, like you're ashamed.
Well, England, unlike... we just act like World War II was the greatest thing in the world, but England still has places where, like, we haven't gotten around to fixing those holes yet.
That's incredibly patronising and racist, and I'm going to leave. No, I grew up, when I was a kid, in the 60s, there were still remnants of...
Yes.
My next door neighbour had one of those Anderson showers, which is where you used to go in to get rid of the bombs,
Yeah.
And when you think that when I was born, that was 15 years after the war.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
I was born 15 years after that war.
Right.
I mean, they're so close to it, and people, do it. So
We're closer. We're further away right now from 9/11, right? Which still feels fresh to our generation. But there's like little kids who are like, they have a test. They're like, what year was that? 9/11. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no reason for them.
Well, it's because information is exponential now.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I think it was 2015. In 2015, more photos were taken than in the rest of history.
Yes.
So everyone's got everything, and it's mostly shit.
Yeah.
All the information is mostly, you hear what people talk about. It's we're all guilty. I'm not just talking about 15-year-olds, but we mostly talk about nonsense. It's frivolous. It's rubbish. It's taken our eye off the ball because we trust the people who are meant to do this sort of things, but now we can't trust them. And I think what's happened in the last couple of years has actually given people a wake-up call. I think young people now are voting more than they did before because it's made us grow up.
Yeah,
it's made us grow up. We're going, well, Jesus, this could be the end of the world. We better do something.
I wonder though, but. With all the photos that we're taking, we no longer have famous photos. I remember when I would be younger,
of course,
and there were photos that people would stare at, and now you're just like, yep.
If you think about growing up, the pictures I've got of me in the photo album that my sister's got, right? I don't know. There's probably 40.
Yes.
There's more than that of me in the bath yesterday on my phone. Do you know what I mean? It's
right.
Yeah, I've got 30 of my cat to try and get the perfect one.
But when your mother with those photos, she cherished them, and they would sit and people would look at them over and over, and now they're just
now I imagine if you have a baby, you must just have to make space. You're just like, I need a hard drive for this. I'm taking 150 an hour.
Yeah,
well, that's what's it, isn't it? Because it's pretty limitless if you think about it.
Yes.
You can, there's you don't have to edit them down because you can, the computer on your phone is like, well, in fact, the first calculator had a stronger, more information than the computer that put the first man on the moon. Just with microtechnology. The things that you've got in the palm of your hand now on a phone is off the charts compared to it's ridiculous.
Those early NASA things are so great. You watch them, and this guy's hitting switches. They're just hitting switches the whole way to the moon.
I know, and they had to do it to a second where they could. I think, how did it ever work? I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible.
I'm told we got to get you out of here, Dick,
I was,
you're very busy.
I was starting to bore myself.
Well, everything was going great to that computer calculator thing. Take care, Ricky. Best of luck with everybody. Have a great tour.
Thanks, man.
See you, my friend.
Man. Cheers.
Ricky Gervais' new show, Ricky Gervais' Deadly Serious, replays today at 5 p.m. on Raw Dog. And tomorrow, a new episode airs on Raw Dog at 5 p.m. Ricky Gervais' Deadly Serious.
Deadly Serious. Very funny, man. That was sweet to stop in like that.
That was so sweet.
What were we talking about before Ricky Gervais bounced in here?
I can't remember.
Oh, I know. Vito doesn't like Chris. No, I'm all kidding. That's becoming a little bit of a...
I hope they can mend things between them.
I remember so well the first episode I saw of The Office.
Yeah.
And it was, and I caught it on BBC America. And I don't know why I watched that. You know what I mean? I don't know what I was doing on BBC America. And I remember I was living in DC at the time. And it was just when Fez started having problems. So it was a very depressing and confusing time. And it was like one of those shows where I can't wait to the next episode right away. Because, we forget now because everybody has done that show over and over and over.
It's completely.
But it was weirdly shocking to see a mockumentary on TV.
And I can remember I was in college at the time, so I had come home and you're like, you have to sit down and watch this show. And I was just like floored by it.
It's what I do with telling people about better things now.
Yeah.
Like your aunt was just up here and I'm like, you're watching Better Things, right? She's like, yeah, you told me I'm going to. I go, you want to just watch some? She's like, I'm only in New York for a couple days, so I'd like to see the city.
Now let's just binge watch 2 seasons.
I'll do it with you. I'm still locking into every episode of Vice Principals and laughing even though I'm still in all the episodes that I've seen. 'Cause
Really?
I think they gave me 7 episodes before I did the interview, and I binge watched them. But I don't know, for me, it's much different to watch it on TV than a computer screen. And maybe it's just because of the time I grew up, but it's a totally different experience.
Yeah, I mean, it is for me. I don't know if, like, maybe if you were born and that was like how most of the things you watch, the way kids just get handed a phone at a.
Chris doesn't have a TV anymore.
Well, that's true.
He doesn't watch anything.
And he's
for
an
when
elderly millennial.
Yeah, he's the.
You should be. You're on the cusp.
There's already the first 18-year-old is around that is part of the new generation.
Oh yeah.
They're calling it Planet Z Rock. No, I think it's Generation Z is the name of it. But you know, at least with a comedy, you don't get in and get disappointed.
Yeah, that's true. But when you are binge watching something and it catches you, and then you invest all this time in it, there's nothing like being disappointed by that series.
Yes, terrible.
But there's an article up on the iBang of just like common shows where people get disappointed. Have you ever had that where you're all in on a show?
Oh,
100%. And then by the end of the season or even a couple seasons later, I mean, sometimes it takes a little while to realize that you're like, this is not the show I signed up for.
A lot of people are going through that with Curb right now, where they're feeling like, but the weird thing is, Curb, I don't think has changed, but enough years have gone by that kind of minutia type comedy feels a little more dated. You're more likely to say, oh, come on, why would a guy obsess on whether he's using tongs or not? Why would he go and try to find the manager to say we don't need tongs for a cookie? But when that first came out, particularly like on Seinfeld, people were locked in 100%.
Now, I'll give you one that I did just recently, and I feel bad because somebody did send it in and recommend it to us. But it's the show called The Break. I watch it. Remember, it's like a French language kind of take on like a True Detective type story. And somebody had emailed it to us and recommended it to us. So I was like fully invested. It was like the kind of thing where you're like, I should go to bed, but I think I'm going to watch another episode.
Yeah.
And I was loving it so much. And about halfway through, I'm going, I don't know how they're going to tie this, story together. Sometimes when, especially like a whodunit kind of situation, you're setting yourself up for failure. And by the end of the series, we were on, I'm not kidding, maybe 8 or 9 red herring circumstances.
I can't stand that.
In which the victim had a murder attempted on him by like 8 or 9 different people on the same night. And he's like, no, he tried, but then this thing happened.
French.
And then he got hit by a car, but that didn't kill him. It was this. And I was like, oh my God, this is getting ridiculous.
I'll give you one that was really great right up until the end, and that was the first season of True Detective. And then it forces you to go, I did not enjoy this, even though I guess we did. Hey, by the way, look at Washington has better color than we have here in New York.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
But that's weird because they're further south. They normally come slower than us.
Yeah, normally they're still green when we're
they're
changing.
2 weeks behind. So I want to. Was True Detective on that list?
True Detective, I don't think was on this list. This was from The Ringer, and they just went through their TV writers and they each picked one. But I do think that genre kind of lends itself to the disappointment, because ultimately what you're just trying to do, whether it kind of has a bad episode, a good episode, is, well, I need to find out who killed blah, blah, blah. I need to find out if they catch the guy, whatever that thing is.
True Detective was different because they let on that perhaps this thing was going to be much more interesting.
Right.
Like there was some kind of a cult that had infiltrated every part of Louisiana.
Right.
And, no, just some idiot who's living in a half a fucking house, which is what really happens with crime. Most of the time, the person is not a master criminal. He's a moron.
There was one show I got into last year. It's called The Expanse on Sci-Fi Channel. And it's 2 seasons. I watched the first season, loved it. But by the second season, it totally fell apart.
But see, you guys have brought up 2 shows that most people never even heard of.
Right.
This is where we are with this. Like, who knows how good those writers are? In the case of Lost,
Right.
you were dragging the entire country along. And everybody was excited, and everybody was even saying, I hope it's not this, which it turned out to be, the stupid upside-down wine bottle.
Right. Now, here's another one that gets brought up, is Orange is the New Black, because I think that show has a very serious tonal problem. So it doesn't know if it's a silly comedy that takes place in a women's prison, or is it a gritty show that shows what happens in a women's prison. And
that's a bad showrunner, because you're going to have different directors and different writers all the time with a series. So you need that one person there.
Right.
Back in the old days when soap operas were big, right? There was this thing called the Bible, and you would have to go along if you got hired as a writer and kind of read just a kind of
the backstory of
almost like a Wikipedia of like, this is us, this is our tone, this is what we're doing. MASH did it probably much better than anybody had, where it was a comedy with horrible war atrocities taking place.
Yeah.
And they would have this comedy, and then you would see these same funny people just like looking at each other with their fucking hospital mask on, just going, oh, Jesus. You know? So you had the reason why these people were funny and drank and had, outside of marriage sex lives, is they needed something to fucking blow off the steam.
Right.
All right, let's go through this list. Let's see how we are all time and whether we agree or disagree.
All right, House of Cards.
I think I watched a couple episodes, and I always want to get into it because people bring it up. 2 things they bring up all the time: Orange is the New Black and House of Cards.
House of Cards is one. I watched the first season, enjoyed it, then started to feel like it dropped off. I let it go, and I kind of wish I hadn't. But then I have been hearing that people go, I've been in for the long haul, and this is not the show I signed up for. Sometimes when a show changes so much from the tone of the beginning, you end up going, wait, this is why we were here this whole time?
Then Twin Peaks is also on the list.
Twin Peaks, especially the new season. I don't want to toot my own horn, and I love Twin Peaks. I love Lynch, but about 3 or 4 episodes in, my friends who watched the show, I said, do not get your hopes up on answers, on tying this thing into a bow, reasons that we're just watching just bizarre.
Was this a one-off? Or they're going to keep on going with Twin Peaks after this?
I believe as of right now it's a one-off. But this is essentially the third season he did of this show. Plus he had done a movie as well. So. But I mean, by the end of it,
doing it Lynch anymore?
Mm-hmm, yeah,
because I remember at one point he was out.
Yeah, he became less involved in the second season years ago. But this was all him, and it was as weird as you could imagine. And I will say, in the last episode, you're going, what the fuck? But I'm the only one who wasn't upset because I go, I told you, I didn't get my hopes up.
So you feel superior to your friends.
I do,
you
100%.
You didn't have an open heart. All right, 844-ROCK-GOD, 844-ROCK-GOD. What is even the title of this, Chris?
This is on the iBang. What TV shows are a waste of your precious time?
Now, I don't know, if I had to talk about True Detective or even Lost, I don't know if I would call it a waste of my time. Because a lot of it was really fun and engaging, and you could argue with your friends.
Yeah.
But I think it's more like sometimes you're like, does this show matter more to me than it does to the people who are running it? So it's a disappointment, but I don't know if I would call all of these a waste. All right, give us another one, Chris.
Dexter is on the list.
I dropped off of Dexter. I remember I think I did 2 seasons, and then things started to seem weird. I got out.
I stayed the entire time. The last episode was a complete embarrassment. But I always liked the character of Dexter, and I liked the idea from I liked the initial premise of this guy who was with the police department, so he was going to have inside information, and he would kill bad guys like Batman.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was like Batman, the serial killer. So I can't say that I didn't enjoy a lot of it. And I'll also say this. Once I got onto a plane and I'm in the bookstore, and there was the original book of Dexter, and I picked it up.
Oh, really?
Terrible.
Really?
The TV show was much better than the source material. And I've only seen that a couple other times. Forrest Gump is another one. As bad as you might think that movie is, man, is it better than the book. Man, is it better than the book. All right, give us another one, Chris.
Westworld.
Oh, I disagree. I don't think it's time to give up on it. And that was a lot of
I don't think it's time
for us.
Yeah, I definitely didn't feel cheated by the end of the season. I felt like, all right, we're going somewhere interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's still too many unanswered questions to be a beast on them, and we did have a lot of fun discussing the Westworld stuff. I mean, it's a ridiculous premise. It's a ridiculous fucking premise. There's no reason to make that world physical, especially if you're going to be in that world with other people who aren't going to play the game correctly. Like, there's nothing to stop someone just to, as soon as they go in the game, just to start shooting everyone that you're interacting with. You're like, dude,
I'm playing.
I'm slow playing this fucking thing. All right, give me another one, Chris.
The increasingly poor decisions of Todd Margaret.
I watched the first season of that because I was doing something with David Cross that Unmasked, and then I don't remember seeing anything else. But I thought the first season was terrific.
What screwed me up with that show is I saw the first episode, but it had a different actor in one of the character roles, like his British assistant, and then the new guy came on, and I hated the new guy.
You don't like new guys.
I didn't like. I thought the old actor was
You have
100 times
problems with
better.
change.
That's why you can't get along with Vito.
No, it's
or
not gonna
Zito.
But yeah, I watched the first season. I think it was on for like 3 or 4.
Hey, let's go to Rad. What's up, buddy?
Hey, buddies.
Yeah.
The one that kind of drives me nuts is The Curse of Oak Island that I kind of got attached to in the second season. The show itself is okay, but the narrator of the story drives me insane because he's always like, a piece of wood? What could this possibly mean? Or a button?
I never even...
from the Civil War?
I never even heard of this. Maureen writes on Twitter, Mike Judd's Tales from the Tour Bus is great TV. Man, Flats tried to turn me on to that, and I watched one episode. I couldn't get into it. I don't... Is it like animation or something, right?
I think it is an animated show.
Animation in me. Flats brought this up, that somebody who accused Marilyn Manson's bass player of rape. I forget what his name is. He's got Twiggy Ramirez.
Yeah,
is that
Twiggy.
It?
Yeah.
But that girl was on my show back in Miami.
Oh, really?
The girl that, accused. Just hanging out one day.
Really?
I don't think she was, you know what I mean, of the same interest as what's been happening lately. All weekend long, just more and more people being accused. And this one shocked us all, James Toback. Nobody saw that, despite the fact that he had talked about it and written about it for, I'm going to say, since the 70s. He was known. And I remember Spy Magazine did a piece that he was doing the same gimmick in like the 80s as he was doing now, just seeing girls saying, hey, you got a certain something. I'm a director. Here's my stuff. Yeah, and showing them right away. It was just playing the old numbers game, as we used to say when we were kids, and we went to Wildwood, New Jersey, that if you just bluntly ask people, sooner or later, someone's going to say, yeah,
sure, I
got a half an hour to kill. Let's go under the boardwalk. Give me another show.
Bloodline.
Never saw it, never heard of it.
I watched the first season and it was great. So I guess I must be living in ignorance.
That was
because
in the Florida Keys, right? On Netflix.
Oh, then I did watch it.
Yeah.
And I forget somebody was coming in, and I watched the first 4 or 5 episodes that I had to, because that's when the person came in, and then never picked it up again.
Yeah, I think I did the same.
It didn't feel true to me.
Yeah.
And who knows what that reason is? You know, I mean, there can be some ridiculous shows that you're like, I don't know, I'm going to stick with it. You know what I mean? Like Gotham doesn't make sense, but people seem to watch it every week.
They also have Modern Family on the list.
Modern Family, one of the great fall-off comedies of all time. This is one of those shows that it took me a while. It actually was on reruns before I started watching it. And then I was like, oh, this show was much funnier than I ever gave it credit for. Loved Little Man. He thought he was one of the funniest things that ever happened. And then when I start watching in prime time, I'm like, oh, this isn't as good as the reruns.
Now, I feel that I agree that it has dropped off a lot, but in the case of a sitcom or a light comedy, I don't know if I get the same feeling of I've wasted my time and invested my characters, because they're kind of like regenerated moment. You know, a sitcom is not, you're not following a storyline, whereas a drama, you could invest all this time into.
Well, I'll make the case the other direction, because this was like a family when it started,
right?
Where, you know, some very funny, ridiculous things happen, but it was very smart writing, you know, great acting, everything, you know, to work as a sitcom, 100%. Then they became 11 stars that each needed their own catchphrases and lines, and you no longer thought of them as a family. You thought of them as, you know, 11 very successful, wealthy people who deserve a little time. You know, let's not all give it to the beautiful girl with an accent.
Right.
So you believed in it at first. You no longer do. I say, Vito, you're nodding back and forth. You were a Modern Family watcher?
Yeah, and I'm still a Modern Family watcher. But
yeah, me too. I haven't turned it off.
But like the early seasons, there were things that were so subtle that they'd set up in like the first 2 minutes of the episode that would have this huge payoff at the last second.
It was smart. It was very smart writing.
And now it's just complete. And like now you could already see they're trying to turn the Ariel Winter character into a sexier character now.
Yeah, and the whole thing is
Baby
just
Joe.
like, she needs her time. She's getting paid a lot of money, and we've got to use her.
Yeah.
But, you know, it worked as a unit before. They weren't ridiculous people. They were people.
Well, yeah, and now you can also see that the jokes that they write for each character could kind of be interchangeable.
With any show.
Yeah.
With any show.
Like, who should we give this line to?
Right.
Instead of really thinking about what that character is or was.
It's very hard to sustain a TV show. Let's just admit that. It's very difficult.
And it seems like almost impossible when you've got young kids and a family dynamic that obviously things are going to change.
Well, why are they still hanging out together? You know what I mean? Like, why are you going to the club to see your kid? Why can't you let your kid have a life? Chris, give us another one.
Love on Netflix.
Was that that's the...
With Gillian Anderson?
I'm going to make this
Gillian
case.
Jacobs.
Gillian Jacobs.
Now, it's only, 2 seasons or 3?
Two.
I'm going to make the point that the second season was much better. Better writing.
I agree.
Thank you, Vito.
Yeah, I saw... Is it 2 seasons or 3 seasons? Okay, so I've seen the whole thing. Yeah, I thought it got even better in the second season
I thought
well.
it started a little clunky. They were 2 unlikable characters that you didn't want to see together. And then by the second season, you're like, okay, I do see what she sees in him.
Right.
Because there's no way in real life he gets
It
her.
was a
That
struggle
doesn't
at
happen.
first to go,
This would be like, oh, Vito's with Jen. You know what I mean? No one.
Yeah, exactly.
The only
Just
way.
like that.
And believe me, I executive produced a show that Vito did. What was it on?
Instagram, The Halls.
No, it wasn't on Instagram. This was pre. It was.
That was like the first Instagram. It was after Vine. Vine was the Vine reporter. Instagram was The Halls.
I thought we were on Vine.
Vine was the Vine reporter.
But these were still 7 seconds instead of long. And your co-star was who?
Nerisse.
No way do you get Nerisse on any planet.
Hell no.
Not even if you're the last 2 people on Earth. By the way, did we invite Nerisse to Thanksgiving? She thinks we forget her all the time.
No, we invited her.
Is she coming?
I have to check back in with her.
Then that shows that she's not valued, as she said to me.
She's very valued. I love Maurice.
I don't know if you do, because you would know that. How about Molly?
I did not speak to Molly.
Molly's in Boston. She'll be in Boston.
You talked to her?
I talked to her, yes.
Thank you for having an answer, unlike some people. You're rocking out.
Am I? Oh, yeah, you're right.
I hear Bowie singing Changes. Give me another one, Chris.
The Newsroom on HBO.
That stunk from the beginning.
I never saw an episode.
I saw every episode.
I only saw 2 or 3, and then I was out. I was done.
Look who it is, our buddy Andy from Cleveland. Andy, how you doing, pal?
Hey guys, voice in the past.
How are you?
Good. Things have been kind of quiet over here, but it's we'll see what the future holds. I was thinking Battlestar is a disappointing show.
I never saw Battlestar.
Never saw it. I know people love it, but I never saw an episode.
I was surprised when I heard people loved it.
Yeah, because it was like from the 80s, right?
But it was wasn't it like a joke show in the 80s almost?
I think so.
Well, it was kind of like Star Wars Light in the 80s, but when they redid it in sci-fi, it was extremely high stakes, really almost like a Holocaust in space kind of thing. And then they just got lazy at the end with the writing, and it became okay, everybody's a friggin' Cylon, and this person's a ghost, and we're like, what the hell? And it was bizarre.
It seems to me to be like a children's show, and children will accept anything because they're so stupid.
It was really campy in the original version, right?
Oh yeah, the original show was totally camp, trying to get it was 1 degree slightly better than that Buck Rogers thing with Gil Gerard, but. What about also shows that ended too quickly and that's why they were disappointing? Does that count?
Yeah, give me one.
Like Carnival.
Yeah.
On HBO.
Yeah, people wanted me to watch that, and it was one I just didn't for whatever reason.
It was good, but I mean,
it will. I guarantee you, if you get to the end of the second season, where they left it, it will piss you off. You'll be shaking the DVD box, trying to find out if there's anything else in there. And if you missed a disc, it's a show that shouldn't have been canceled.
All right, Andy, good to hear from you, buddy. Peace.
Yeah, good to hear from you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
When I was a kid, my uncle had all the episodes of Lost in Space.
Oh.
And I was watching them obsessively. Every time I would go over to my aunt and uncle's house, I would watch a couple episodes until I get to the end, and it was just canceled. I thought I was getting to them getting home. I thought for sure they were going to get home.
They never got home.
And I remember being like, why didn't you tell me this?
Then they
and he's like, oh, well, they got canceled. And
they made a movie after that, which was a much edgier, rawler thing than the original, and they didn't get home there either. They just never.
So shitty.
They're called Lost in Space, not Found at Home.
I know, but I just thought for sure this was what we were working towards.
Ryan in Detroit. Ryan.
I've got to say, Homeland, after season 1, was the most disappointing. They might as well have fucking unicorns and UFOs in that show.
I agree.
This is the perfect case of the initial premise from Homeland could have played out for years, right?
Yeah.
And they rushed it so hard. They were so quick to have this guy to be found out for what he did. And you're just like, dude, if you would have slowed it down, because you had the right actor in the role. You had the right romantic thing between the two of them. Everything could have been a slow burn and close calls. But instead, it was just out front so fast, and they couldn't come back around it. But some people still watch it, and they'll bring up Homeland. I'm like, dude, it's been so long.
It's still on? They're still making the seasons of it?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, I watched, I think, up till maybe even just halfway through season 2 and went, oh, man, this is not the show I was initially watching. That was a huge drop-off.
Matthew, Colorado. Matthew, what's up?
Hey, that other guy was talking about a show that it was disappointing because it got canceled way too early. I think Firefly should be up on that list for sure.
Firefly was one of those. Now, it did come back, or it came back as a movie?
There was a movie called Serenity.
It came back as a movie.
Yeah.
It sucked.
The movie sucked?
it was really disappointing to fans of the show because it just tied up a lot of scenes like that were supposed to be way more drawn out, like really quickly.
Yeah, you just unfortunately Firefly was out when you needed a bigger audience than you do now. Like that kind of thing could have easily run on Amazon for, a few years.
Right.
And you could have a smaller audience. But when you were dealing with the networks, you just need a lot of people watching it. There is a really fun documentary about the Dana Carvey show from the 1960s that only ran for 7 episodes. But the amount of people that were with that show in front of and behind the camera, it was unbelievable. They had who's the guy who does Triumph? The great
Robert Smigel.
Robert Smigel is the producer. The head writer, 29 years old, Louis C.K.
Wow.
Charlie Kaufman is a writer on the show.
It's insane.
And Dana Carvey's 2 scene partners were Stephen Colbert and Steve Carell. And they just came out of the gate. I don't want to give too much away because you should watch the documentary. But basically, ABC thought they bought the Dana Carvey and all of his characters from Saturday Night Live, and they all sat down and go, let's make a modern Monty Python. Let's kick out the fucking jams.
Yeah.
And they were young and ballsy and didn't give a shit. And their lead was Home Improvement. And, you have this big, massive family show. And then in the first episode, in the first 2 minutes, Dana Carvey is playing the President of the United States, Bill Clinton. But Bill Clinton has all these tits up and down his, and he opens his shirt and he's just feeding babies and puppies. They're sucking milk out of all these tits like he's a bitch, like literally a female dog. And people are just like, fuck this.
I turned on to see if Wilson was on.
Yeah. And it's really, really fucking a fun watch.
That's amazing.
Matt in Syracuse. Matt.
Hey guys, Deadwood on HBO. I mean, good show, but they canceled it like 3 seasons in, and you just never got a conclusion.
I didn't even think it lasted 3 seasons. It was probably 1.5.
Yeah. I didn't watch it when it was on, and I went back and watched it, and it absolutely was a great show, but it's just they pulled the rug from under them, so you do kind of feel like, man, I invested all this energy into this.
That's that same guy. He had the next fucking show about the track.
Luck, which I liked a lot, and I was really getting
enjoying
into
Luck.
it. And that season got really good by the end of it, and then too many horses died. No more show. David Milch.
Yeah, I mean, the horses died, but also a lot of people were just like, I don't want to watch the inner lives of track rats. You know what I mean? Like, there are certain things that, even though they might be well written and good, masses of people are just not interested. That's why Breaking Bad is a freak of a show.
Yeah.
You should have, like, why am I watching this show about this disgusting meth fucking maker? They don't even show all the bad things that happen with meth. We're not understanding how many lives he's fucking up. It's a freak of a show. When people go, why aren't there more shows like Breaking Bad? You're like, dude, you're lucky that you caught this one fucking show like that. Norman in Virginia. Norman, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Ron and G? I got 2 shows that I know. I think you were a fan of. You should talk about all the time. One of them was on NBC. That show Journeyman. Journeyman. What's your journey tonight, Journeyman?
I don't think I saw this.
He was a guy. He would be a time traveler, but the only time that he could travel was in the space of his own lifetime. Right.
Right. Okay.
So whatever he was, 39 years old. He could only travel back and forth then. And it had to be in the same area. It was always San Francisco.
Yeah, wherever he was, he would travel to time. When he time traveled, he would go to exactly where he was in the present.
And we didn't know why he was doing this. We didn't know, and he didn't know. He was just fucking thrown into this thing, and he
Did he control? Was he able to control it?
Nothing. He was a man unstuck in time, and he would see these things, and he was trying to figure it out. And people are just like, this is too confusing. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't have that thing where people knew why he was traveling, what his job was supposed to be, what was his wife up to? Did she know that he was a time traveling? No one could figure it out. And then, they're just like, look, we're not going to deal with this shit. Here is, it says Brenson in Savannah.
Hey, Ron, how's it going?
Good.
I remember being a kid, getting really excited for the Dana Carvey show, watching it, and then seeing him unbutton his shirt, just start breastfeeding everybody, all the animals, and just thinking, what the hell just happened? And then I remember, well, I guess this is funny. I'll just watch it later, and I just kept watching it. But I always remember that.
Well, there was a belief that, hey, we shouldn't open with that sketch. Let's put that sketch on the second or third week after people like us. And I think it was Louis who was, like I said, 29. No, we got to fucking draw a line in the sand, dude, and let them know that this show is totally different. You know what I mean? Like, we gotta, and there were certain people, certain even writers who came back later and go, oh, this was much better, 6 weeks into it or whatever. But the die had been cast.
Right.
And, Dana Carvey is not the edgiest guy in the world. And for him to want to do this show.
Right.
Everyone always says, you got to take risks. And then they're so disappointed when the risks don't pay off. But that is the point of risks. You know what I mean? If you want to be a risky comic, you're going to walk some rooms. You can't sit around and go, what the fuck? You didn't give an audience what they're used to seeing. And that's what people like.
Right.
Whether,
100%.
Now, they may end up loving something they never saw before, but not necessarily.
Particularly with TV and TV at that time.
Yes.
Like, TV at that time was still just like this is a comfortable place for me to go to get a kind of entertainment that I know what I'm signing up for.
Well, Home Improvement is a perfect example of what happens. This show was fucking massive. Not even remembered today. No one uses it as a reference point.
Never.
Mm-mm.
No one even brings up that they watched it when they were younger.
Mm-mm.
And this show crushed Seinfeld. Seinfeld almost was canceled because it was up against Home Improvement. And yet, now people act like that show never happened. They're like, Tim Allen. I know he's supposed to be big. People feel so superior to Tim Allen.
Who were you? You were out there and you were watching Home Improvement.
But and he's had 2 hit TV shows, hit movies, a hit fucking cartoon, and yet people still act like he's, I don't know, Pauly Shore or something, They're like, yeah, I knew that he was around. Here's Jay. Jay, what's up? Jay.
Ronnie.
Yeah, what's up, buddy?
Hey, I don't know if it's necessarily disappointing more than it is overhyped for me as Mad Men. I never got it. I watched all of it, too.
You hold your tongue, sir.
People who loved Mad Men absolutely loved it, and there were a lot of critics who did. I watched for the first season, I think, even though I can't tell you anything about it. Tried to watch the beginning of the second season, tapped out, and people tell me that I would have stuck with it, I would have loved it.
Yeah.
But,
I will definitely admit that there was about a season and a half that was not my favorite, and I kind of thought it was going to end up being a show that ultimately disappointed me. But by the last season, I thought the last season was really strong again. And I would say that I thought it had a great finale, and that is a very hard thing to pull off. It is a very hard thing to watch something for that long and go, man, that kind of did sum up the feeling of this whole show.
John in Florida.
Yeah, there are a couple things I wanted to mention. Deadwood did go 3 seasons, which was a show I really enjoyed. And also, The Nick.
Tried to watch The Nick. Too bloody, too gross, too shitty. No, I don't mean shitty stuff, but there was like literally shit.
Oh,
around.
God.
It was New York before, when there was horses and stuff. And that's just
Too
filthy,
much poop.
diseasey, horse shitty. But people loved it, but I can't stand to see somebody come in with a giant gourder and then just have it cut open. Hey, Matt, what's up?
I got my eye on you, Ronnie B.
Hey, we're going back to John in Cincinnati now.
Yeah, man. I was so bummed HBO only gave that one season.
Same guy that did the...
Oh, David Milch.
I think it was David Milch. I might be wrong, but I thought it was David Milch. Very confusing, very edgy. I loved it. I'm like, I want to stick this out. It was like a little miracles were happening. Like, could this be... Is this some kind of scientific mutation thing?
Yeah.
Or is Christ coming back? Is this surfer somehow the second coming? People are not going to give that a real chance. They're just not going to.
It was David Milch. Yeah, I love that show. That one season was on.
Yeah, we used to talk about it back then on the air all the time, and people were like, try to give your show a fucking start. But I did learn the term dump out. Tim in Toronto.
Hey guys, real quick, two things real quick. One is you guys are giving me PTSD with all this home improvement talk because the segments with Wilson were so shitty. Like who was that designed for? Who was that part of the show designed for?
Well, I know exactly because I remember the books at the time, and there was this Iron Man stuff that was happening where men were doing this thing of, hey, we're fucking up as men. And these books would come out as the ancients would do, and they would teach you that you needed mentorship and you needed to walk the fire to come back and be a good parent and a husband and stuff. So it was very much in vogue at the time that you would go to a sweat lodge and you would do these things with men where you would get together in the woods.
Retreats.
You would talk about what a shitty person was, and then you'd howl at the moon, and you'd smoke a peace pipe together. So they had tapped into that in this light family sitcom. So Tim was supposed to be a masculine guy, but he just wasn't in touch with everything in the world. And that quickly, once they're like, well, this is the show that we like, he falls.
He grunts a lot.
He falls down, and every time he uses a power tool, he breaks something. So, I mean, the idea what they did was very much of that time and space, and then they were stuck
it was all
with
that stuff, but it wasn't funny. That's what it wasn't.
Yes.
But my stuff too, real quick, is Wire. Obviously, totally brilliant seasons 1 to 4, but season 5 with McNulty and the serial killer storyline, like I thought that character deserved better.
I never watched it in real time. I went back and watched it and found that it wasn't nearly as great as people said it was, even though it had some look. If you would have taken just about all the white people out of The Wire, it would have been fucking great. You know what I mean? But when you're sitting around looking at these young kids who are fucking dealing crack and could be killed even though they're in their early teens, I don't give a shit if the Baltimore Sun is failing as a newspaper. You know what I mean?
The newspaper
I don't care
animal.
if your fucking marriage is breaking up. Some, cop isn't the best husband. There's something really dramatic happening in this one spot.
Well, that 4th season was amazing when they introduced all the kids. That was astounding. But then McNulty trying to make a serial killer out of nothing was insane.
Yeah, and I mean, he was not only a bad cop, but a bad person. There was no reason to cheer for him. Tim, what's up?
Two things, Ronnie. Apparently, everybody in Canada is named Tim. I listen to the show every day.
Yeah.
The other one is not a disappointing series. It's Ray Donovan. I just don't think it gets its props. I think it's the best show on TV, man.
I watched the first season, thought it was terrific, and then didn't catch up with it. I'm gonna sit down sometime and just go directly through. Yeah. But yeah, critically, it's still beloved. It's just something that fell off for me personally. But I some of the best acting on TV.
Yeah, I only saw the first season, and Liev Schreiber's the man.
He's great. He's just fucking great actor.
It is terrible when you like drop off from a show just because of time or whatever. Sometimes you don't even mean to do it, and then later you hear someone be like, "You stopped watching that show," and you're like, "Am I an idiot? Oh no, it got good."
Missed it.
Let's go to Fran. Fran, what's up?
Hey, hi, Ron.
Hey.
A show that I got really into last season when it was new was Designated Survivor. It had a really different premise, very interesting, and it had great conspiracy theories. And then they decided to wrap up all the interesting storylines very quickly last season. And this year, it just seems to be West Wing, and they seem to be drawing on a lot of very current political issues.
Well, it's another great example. Thanks so much, Fran, for calling. Like, why am I supposed to care? This guy, there was like all Congresses together, and the president's there, and everybody gets killed in this fucking terrorist attack. And this one dude who was secretary of something,
right,
becomes the president because it's King Ralph. Now, you get to that point, that's fucking mind-blowing. And then I'm supposed to care whether his son is fucking doing Molly or not? I don't give a shit. The whole world is coming apart. I don't give a fuck if this kid skips school.
I think they feel the need to kind of flesh characters out too much with those kind of things. We're like, we need to make him a real person and let him know he's got problems.
Like that happens in real life. Wouldn't that guy like never see his family because he's the fucking president now? And
people who are the president now never see their family as it is.
Yeah.
Fucking Trump has been chucking people out to train whether they have his last name or not. You know what I mean? There's a lot of fucking pressure in that gig. Almost any cop show, I don't want them to go home. I don't give a fuck.
Boring.
Just let me. Yes, I mean, I wouldn't want to look in someone's house and watch a show about that. You're exciting when you're being a cop chasing killers. You're not exciting when you get home.
When I'm home, I'm just dad.
Yeah, and someone's bitching you for not taking out the trash. Pull your fucking piece and start screaming. What are you tapping away on over there, Chris?
Oh, just about a phoner. Just a telephone.
Jay in Michigan.
Yeah, hi guys. I just wanted to piggyback on the comment about The Wire. Last night I literally just finished watching the whole series, and like it just seemed like what you said, Ronnie, about them wanting to focus on the kids selling drugs. After the second season, they just completely got away with 100% being different topics, if you know what I'm saying. Like, it seemed like they set up for like every season to be a different thing that they were going to investigate, and then after the Steven-Dorff season, they just went right back to the kids in the streets and the drugs.
Yeah, and it had been an entirely different vibe. I just realized that one of the guys from The Wire is in The Deuce. The guy who got killed in prison, who got choked out in prison, is the cop on The Deuce.
The white cop?
No, black kid. The black kid who, remember he got, all right, Vito's on it.
The guy who played Avon Barksdale, right?
I think so, one of the Barksdales. He was the nephew of the big guy.
Yeah, he's the main cop on The Deuce that we're following, the black guy.
because he has the bad fucking wig.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it until this second.
Oh, wow.
Neither one of you guys picked up on it?
I don't watch The Wire. I've never watched The Wire. Yeah, I know.
You don't watch The Wire?
I know. It's one of those things everybody likes to get really pissed at me for.
And then I believe Big Mike was in The Wire, too.
Which one's Big Mike?
Big Mike's the two bouncers he has, like the one guy with the guns and then the one just crazy big guy.
He's never even talked yet. Big Mike just stands there being big. All right, that's great. Marcus.
Hey, how you doing, Ron?
What's up, man?
Hey, man. Angie Tribeca, man. It's like I'm the only one who ever watched it.
Yeah,
it's Rashida.
Yeah, it didn't work for me. It's like Airplane of...
Right, Naked Gun, these Get Smart type of deal.
Yeah, it didn't work for me. I gave
It
it
didn't
a
work
try.
for you?
No, because I think she's adorable. You know what I mean? I would
Right.
watch her do anything. But the show just didn't work for me. I'd rather see her in a rom-com.
I've never seen Angie Tribeca.
You don't have a TV. I don't know how you see anything. I'm always shocked.
Streaming apps.
Streaming apps. Jeff, Atlanta. Jeff.
Hey guys, a big science fiction horror guy, and I don't know what happened, but with Sarah Connor Chronicles, I was all into that, and that just got canceled a few years back. And now Wayward Pines, I was all into that in the season whatever, and now
God,
they're not going to bring that back.
I forgot how much I ended up hating Wayward Pines, and I loved it when it started. What
the
they did
second
to
season
us
was so different.
Yeah, what they did, what the show ended up being about.
So stupid.
Not only was I disappointed, I was embarrassed of myself. I felt like I had walked out to get a newspaper and forgot to put my pants on.
The book was just about as bad because it all dealt with that same shit, even though,
You read the book, Wayward Pines, the book?
I read the book, yeah.
I'm looking down at you, even as the guy who admitted he read the stupid Dexter book. I think it's called Sweet, Sweet Dexter. That's how bad.
No, it's not. Is it really?
It is. I think it is. Stop typing. Read me some more of these. I mean, the phones are packed with people who are disappointed that they lost their show, but this started as shows that disappointed us.
Game of Thrones makes the list.
I'm glad to hear that.
Game of Thrones is one that I think that they almost have the opposite issue that other shows have had in the past, where I feel like they are trying so hard for people to not to say, you really disappointed me, that they're going out of their way to give the fans everything that they ever wanted, all the answers, all the connections that needed to happen,
All the events that you'd want to
yeah, people who should have sex, people who they said, oh, I have a fan theory. Those fan theories came true. I feel like they're over-pleasing, and in that way, we could be setting ourselves up for the fans have taken over.
Which happened with Star Wars. Where they just
Right.
run the fans of Game of Thrones hate the man who wrote the books now and feel like he is not giving them enough.
Right.
Fucking baby birds. Little angry baby birds. Give me another one, Chris.
All right, another one is The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I never watched it, so I could never be disappointed.
Yeah, that's not one that I was ever going to get into.
Watched the first season when it came out and was disgusted by it, and I can't believe it's still on and more popular than ever. Everything people bitched about or bitching about now why it's bad, it was all in the first season where nothing happens. And there's
I thought you loved it.
No, never liked it. I watched the first season to give it a shot, and I was like, "Why?"
But why do you always know all the fucking kingdoms and all these weird things? He's very good at recalling the names of all this shit.
Oh, no, he's talking about
Walking Dead.
Dead.
I got
Yeah.
All right, good. I'm off today. All right, keep going.
A Goliath, the Billy Bob Thornton Amazon show.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that show.
I liked it, but I like film noir.
Yeah.
It only ran one season, right?
It's only one season so far. I haven't watched it yet. I want.
Yeah, these people are bitching about nothing. Like, if you get one season on Amazon, you
Right.
can't sit around and act like they let me down. And I don't know. Again,
There's still time.
Go back and watch any shows that were popular that were on that same thing, like Mannix. It doesn't even fucking make sense to you now. The whole detective on the outside of society is a tough show to pull off. Because you're like, at what point do you stop being a scumbag? You know what I mean? Why can't you move out of the trailer or fucking flop house that you're in?
And the last show on the list is The Killing, which was on AMC.
It's like
everybody told me I should watch.
That's kind of like a Twin Peaks vibe kind of show, right? Where it's like a who killed.
It was a murder mystery. I think it was on after Mad Men, and everyone got pissed at them because they left the first season on a cliffhanger. About the whole entire show's about who killed this woman, and then they
They didn't
give
tell
it
you
to
in the first season.
Yeah. So and then I don't know what happened in the second season. I guess it got even worse.
But what do you want? I mean, they're trying to have a fucking show. All right, I met this young lady at the stand the other night out on the street in front of the stand. She wanted to come in and watch my set, and they said no, it's packed out. So I said, give us a call, because she's hosting a show called Stand Up for Puerto Rico this Wednesday, October 25th, 8 p.m. at Stand Up New York. All proceeds are going to Global Giving, a nonprofit that will provide Hurricane Maria relief to the people and island of Puerto Rico. Go to standupny.com for tickets and more information. But here is Danette Rodriguez. How are you, darling?
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. This is incredible.
You know, it was so sweet to meet her. So she is a big Gail Meets Girls fan.
Oh, that's
right?
awesome to hear.
And then she says to me, and this has never happened to me before in my life, and that led me to your podcast, Unmasked. So, great to talk to you, darling. Now, tell us what you're going to be doing with this night of comedy.
So I'm going to be bringing the love and the fire and the spirit of Puerto Rico, hopefully, to Stand Up New York on Wednesday. I'm from Puerto Rico. I'm from iOS.
Uh-huh.
And so this means a lot to me to put the show together. And the lineup is all Puerto Ricans. I think I told you that.
Yeah, she did. Then she goes, nice. Then she says, but I feel bad. You know, I want it to be a little more. I go, no, it should be Puerto
I think that's great.
from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I was like, I want to be more inclusive, but yeah.
No, I think it's just my New York that I loved is when Puerto Ricans have a different angle than black people or white people or Asian people.
Yeah.
You know, now it's like constantly about being, you know, like, hey, do we have one of each? Do we have a trans person in this show? No, I like it when you're like, oh, I didn't even realize some of these things.
Yeah. No, we were very conscious of it. I didn't feel, I only felt bad when I started speaking to other Latino comics, and I was like, oh man, I wish I would have had them on, but they're not, whatever. They were not.
Right. This is not a night we want to hear from the Colombians. Who gives a shit? This is about Puerto Rico. Now, you still have people down there, I guess, right?
Yeah, my family's still in iOS, and there's still a lot of, like, I have a lot of Puerto Rican friends on Facebook that are constantly posting about needing help in their towns, especially in the hills and mountains.
Yes.
Where the supplies are not being able to get distributed. So I don't know how, I guess they just need more manpower as well.
Yes.
But this benefit show too, because there's been so many celebrities doing charity shows for Puerto Rico, so I'm really happy about that. But having this show on Wednesday is also like a reminder, like, hey, we're not done. It's going to be like another year or so.
No, it's going to be a real slog. And, you know, getting around some of those mountain towns and all, it was never easy to begin with, even before this happened, you know.
Right.
That island is, you know, a rainforest, and it's this gorgeous rock in the middle of the ocean. So it's not an easy thing to pull off, but I would have liked to have seen the United States of America pull together a little more for other Americans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, yeah. No comment.
I'll say it for you. I think we now know that people don't like Puerto Ricans. I think we can all safely say that. You know?
Well,
you don't have to be paranoid. This is fact now.
Well, this weekend, the former mayor of Puerto Rico had tweeted this image of surgeons in Puerto Rico working by cell phone light.
Unbelievable.
Because they still didn't have power.
And they don't have generators.
Yeah.
Can't we just airlift a bunch of generators in? That is heartbreaking.
A lot of the people there's a lot of elderly and senior people that don't have access to the computer. They don't really know how to work a computer. So now they find themselves in this situation, and they can't really go online and say, help me. So they're kind of just stuck waiting for someone to hopefully see them and like provide assistance for them.
Well, I think it's really great that the Puerto Rican comedians are getting together like this. It's at standupny.com. Tickets and more information. Danette Rodriguez will be hosting Stand Up for Puerto Rico this Wednesday, October 25th at 8 p.m. at Stand Up New York. All the proceeds are going to Global Giving, a nonprofit that will provide Hurricane Maria relief to the people and island of Puerto Rico. So help get that word out. Thank you so much, darling.
Thank you so much.
Nice
And
talking
Gail,
to you.
I love you.
She's crazy about you, Gail.
So nice talking to you, Danette.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Yeah, she was like, she came up to me and she goes, I love your daughter so much. That show, Gail Meets Girls, it's so great, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, and then that led me to your podcast, Unmasked. I go, podcast, huh? But she's really sweet. And then, like, was immediately apologizing for only having Puerto Ricans
That's so
in
funny.
her Puerto Rican benefit.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah. I go, no, I'm from the time that if you had a Puerto Rican night, it would be Puerto Ricans. But young people, they always worry about being inclusive.
They do. They like being inclusive.
I don't even feel like they think it's up to them.
Yeah.
Now, I was talking to your aunt about her son, and he's 13 or 14, and just how like politically incorrect tune he is. He's so politically correct,
Right.
That his
he
ear
notices.
goes off for any. You know what I mean?
He's like, is that injustice?
Yes.
I hear.
Is somebody making fun of the disabled? They're worried, but obviously I didn't grow up that way at all.
Right.
I'm like an old dog in a new trick. That's not
Right.
my fucking wheelhouse. I think Jen is very politically correct.
Yes.
Is there any minority at all that you don't want included, Jen?
No, there's no.
All right, for me, it's the communist.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, I like to point out differences. I ran into Father John on my street the other day.
Yeah.
He wears like the full white robes, and he's walking down my block, and I see him, and we do a big hug, and we're going to get together. And then your aunt is with us, and I go, and she's an agnostic. She's not sure. And he goes, well, just keep breathing oxygen. That's all you need to do right now. He's all about, he's inclusive too. He's like, Jen, what about communists? You want them
You
there?
like commies?
No.
How about pedophiles?
Absolutely not.
So at a certain point, you are not inclusive.
Right.
But
You're
you just gotta
bullying
go
pedophiles.
further. Yeah. I'm trying to think of who I'm not inclusive of. People from Sun Valley disgust me. And I'm saying both Aston and Brookhaven. Those are horrible people. And yet I get along with people from Upland. I don't have any problem with that.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I always say this, you're no different than anybody from Trainer. You're not exactly Marcus Hulk or Linwood, but at least you're not Ogden or Boothwyn. Someday we all hope to be Twin Oaks. Manor, not the village, and not the farms. So, because here's the difference. If you're from Twin Oaks Manor, you just say you're from Twin Oaks.
But if you're like Twin Oaks Village,
you
have
better
to
point that fucking out.
Yeah, you can't just say you're from Twin Oaks.
Yeah. No, they don't even.
Is there a big difference between the manor and the village?
Oh, there's train tracks and a great, what I would call, racial divide.
Okay, gotcha.
Where the farms was integrated.
Nice.
Very integrated. Some really nice homes over there, as my parents would say. See, things are happening. But remember, it's a shame what happened to Chester, everybody. They closed down the train station. That's how bad it's got. Casey, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Cool.
So, you're talking about the Wire actors that were in the Deuce. You missed one.
Good. Well,
Power plays Frank Zabaka in the Wire. He's also the union leader in the Deuce.
He stinks in both roles.
Being typecast.
You said you're going to list them all, then you didn't.
I didn't. I just had this one moment where, now I know where I know him from. But I couldn't tell because he has that short afro wig.
Yeah.
I imagine it's a wig that he's wearing.
That's a wig, yeah.
Jen, you don't watch The Deuce?
Oh, no.
Put that in the dish for tomorrow.
Okay.
I may have a guest to sit in during the dish.
Oh, a guest dish?
This is some dish.
It's somebody who, in my opinion, loves to dish.
Ooh.
Because she has given me a lot of dishes from the world of comedy.
This is very exciting. We'll have to put out the good china.
I'll just give the initials, okay?
All right.
Bonnie McFarlane.
Oh, I
right.
figured it out already.
I actually have a dish for her. Maybe I'll tell her, but
During dish?
Yeah, during dish. But it would hurt her husband's feelings. Who's got a hilarious opening now.
Oh, yeah?
Floss has the funniest opening known to man. Funniest opening known to man right now. Hey, Rob, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Ron, what's going on?
Hey.
Hey, so one of the things, just getting back to we're talking about the shows and stuff that kind of disappointed, Narcos on Netflix. We kind of all knew how the story was going to end, but I kind of expected a little bit more. I don't know.
Now, are narcos supposed to be narcs or they're dealers?
Narcs.
No, it's the other side. Yeah.
I'm never going to watch a show about narcs.
I put it on for a minute and I hated it.
A lot of people swore to me that I would love it. And I go, what's it about? And they're like,
Narcs?
narcs. And I'm like, no.
I don't like them.
They narc out on people. And I think that new kid in our geography class is a narc. Everybody that was new in our school was accused of being a narc. And I saw a girl get her purse stumped out.
Really?
Oh, my God.
They were literally looking at a fucking
for what?
wire. While we're sitting around selling fucking nickel and dime bags. They thought that they had fucking strapped her up with a wire. Let's go over here to Shannon. Delaware.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
So shows that really kind of jumped the shark and got really disappointing was The X-Files. I used to be an enormous fan.
Yeah.
And it just went downhill. And then they had that, remake for a few episodes. I mean, it had its moments, but that was it, moments.
I always thought that show did well because David Duchovny is good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yet, has he ever been in anything that you're like, oh, he's really got a chance to... Because I think David Duchovny could have been a movie star, but never really.
Yeah, he was in Californication. but
Yeah.
it's not
I
good,
love
so-
Californication, but
He's certainly really good.
it wasn't the best writing in Californication, and all the performers were good in that show, but it was a free for all.
Yeah.
I'm talking about getting the chance to do something really fucking great. I think if they would have given it to him, here's the two people I think, if they were given the right material, could have been the best: David Duchovny and me.
Maybe you could have collaborated on something.
On too much sexual tension between the two of us. I've interviewed him a couple of times. Fucking really smart guy too.
I believe it.
And I don't want to talk down, but way smarter than an actor. Most actors, they're the toughest.
Normally
interviews
they're a
you have.
blank page,
Yeah,
ready
that's
to be written on.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's the problem with having your own opinions. But a lot of actors struggle with that, or they don't want to say.
Yeah.
That's why James Toback could get away as many years as he could, because the actors had no way of saying what happened to them without somebody writing it up first. What do we got, darling?
Live read.
Well, here, give it to me. I'll start live reading right now.
Thanks.
You think that Ring would have been in this room by now? You know what I mean? Like, we've been so attached to it. But Ring's mission is to make neighborhoods safer. Today, over 1 million people use the amazing Ring video doorbell to help protect their homes. Ring knows home security begins at the front door, but it doesn't end there.
So now they're extending that same level of security to the rest of your home with the Ring Floodlight Cam. Just like Ring's amazing doorbell, Floodlight Cam is a motion-activated camera and floodlight that connects right to your phone with HD video and two-way audio that lets you know the moment anyone steps on your property.
See and speak to visitors, even set off an alarm right from your phone. With Ring's Floodlight Cam, when things go bump in the night, you'll immediately know what it is. Whether you're home or away, the Ring Floodlight Cam lets you keep an eye on your home from anywhere.
Ring Floodlight offers the ultimate in home security with high visibility floodlights and a powerful HD camera that puts security in your hands. With Ring, you're always home. Save up to $150 off a Ring of Security kit when you go to ring.com/comedy. Ring.com/comedy. That's ring.com/comedy.
Bennington show Monday. Tonight, I hope you're on the list to head out to see this Unmasked with Judah Freelander. This is going to be a great, great night at the Stand in New York City.
It's going to guaranteed to be a unique experience because I don't think I've ever not been in a unique conversation with Judah because he's just like a one-of-a-kind person.
He's literally a one-of-a-kind person. And he does... Well, all of his stand-up is very unique just to him.
Yeah.
And the special, and I can't wait for everybody to see it. It's coming out on the 31st. It's very unique to just him. No one does crowd work like him. No one takes the opinions that he takes. No one, I don't think, is as subversive. Like, you would be making a giant mistake if you just see him as a surface person.
Yeah.
Almost everything that he does is so well thought out and so interesting. And he's also, without anyone catching him doing it, is always sticking up for the little guy.
Yeah.
He's just that way. You said that you had read something about being happy.
Yes. So there's this article that is, what is the happiest city in the United States? So
now, what constitutes happiness?
So this has to do with general happiness that involves your life, your lifestyle, your career, how comfortable you are, do you have access to the things, and then just how much you enjoy just being a person. And it was several different aspects of life, all polled.
No matter where I live, there's got to be bike trails, or I'm not happy.
No, you say that, but I swear, one of the things that they pick through cities, and one of them is, a lot of them involve places that are very bikeable and bike friendly because it's independent.
Let me say this. Bike friendliness has made New York a less appealing city for me.
I hate them.
I can't open up a fucking cab door without someone almost getting killed. And guess what? I don't have a rear view mirror in the back of the fucking cab. I don't know who's riding up at 60 miles an hour, who then seconds later is going to be running the light. So don't fucking tell me that you're a vehicle.
I don't like interacting. If you're in a car, you hate no one more than bikes.
All right, let's figure out, before we even try the cities, what we would need. I want a city with good access to an airport.
Yes.
And that's a good airport. And you don't think that that's important until it is. I want a city with some kind of culture.
I would agree.
I want good restaurants. I used to say I want good movie theaters, but that seems to be the past. But I would love to be near a theater that's shown some vintage films and stuff like that, because that's always fun.
I know in the past you've mentioned a lot of times a great place to retire is like a college town because you have access to more art, more shows, more things like that.
Stuff like libraries. I know people don't think that that's important, but when people come in and you can do that kind of stuff, it makes life better.
What would you say about weather?
Well, for me, I like seasons, but I don't want any of the seasons to be brutal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's very... Look, I already know what they're going to say with this. Can I just say? They're going to say San Diego again. They always say San Diego. But, I mean, you don't want excessive traffic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree. I know that when people talk about living in LA as far as weather, to me, I go, yes, you have beautiful weather, but you seem like you are stuck in traffic 95% of the time with no other subway system or any other option.
Well, look what Gervais was saying. He can't believe that people go take a 20-mile trip for dinner or something. You know what I mean? Like, for some people, that's a nightmare to think like, oh, there's this great bar and it's only 20 miles away. When LA comics come into the city, they're always amazed how close all the comedy clubs are and that they can run around, because in LA, you're going to do one show. And if they don't have a second show, that's it for you for the night. You know what I mean? You don't pop in and out. Jen, what do you want in a city or town?
I like busyness, energy. That's why I like New
You
York.
want energy.
Yeah.
You want business.
And things to do, probably, too.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Jen just being like, it's beautiful here. I'm just going to enjoy the beauty. That's all I need.
What she wants is sassy people that have a little sass appeal.
Yeah.
You know?
She needs to go
You
to
don't
the
want to live in an
club.
ugly town.
Yeah.
And there are ugly towns.
Yeah.
But I like a downtown, but you can get very quickly to the country. I don't want
I agree.
a massive amount of suburb. So when I'm in New England, those towns, I'm like, oh, look, you got a great bookstore, great coffee shop. There's a movie theater. There's a theater to see live performing. And then I can be in a cabin in 11 minutes.
Yes, I think that that's important. I know for me, living in New York City, I can get a weird panic if it's been a while since I've been out of the city, and I'll just have to go do a day trip upstate or in Pennsylvania, somewhere where I can like put my eyes on green.
But see, you came up with a good point there, because if you're in New York City, you can get to the mountains, you can get to the ocean, you can get to the woods. When I lived in Florida, you would drive 3 hours and you're still in Florida. Even though it's not your town, it feels exactly the same. You're not getting out of the same weather pattern. You're not getting out of the same kind of people.
I enjoy now living a place where our states are very close.
Yes.
And you can say that you've visited a couple
Imagine
states.
if you lived in Europe, where all of a sudden
That's crazy, yeah.
You could be very quickly in Italy, or you could be in Switzerland. Those seems like fucking light years away, yet you could make that a day trip. Chris, I know you. It's always about golf courses for you. What do you need for it to be a good city?
As I've grown older, I've found that I really like good parks in the city. Like I like a park. I like sitting in a park. I like it to look nice.
How come you act like you've never seen birds outside of pigeons then?
Because I've grown older.
Is this something to do with the fact that you now have a lady friend who lives not very far from the beautiful Prospect Park?
That could have something to do with it, yeah.
Because Prospect Park, I live near Prospect Park, but for many years I lived in Brooklyn that was like more industrial, more nightlife-y. Like I've lived in a lot of different neighborhoods.
You love the nightlife.
And now that I'm close to that park, and I'm also near Greenwood Cemetery, which is very green, it's very comforting.
Doesn't the amount of dead bodies turn you off?
It did at first.
Mm-hmm.
At first I went, this is downright spooky. But now I'm comfortable with it.
Vito, what do you need in the city? You've only lived here.
Yeah, I need the accessibility that I can get anything at any time of the day. Like I could not deal with not being able to go to a CVS across the street and pick up like beer or toothpaste or anything. Like even when I go to an upstate
Being
place,
close to a CVS is not a
You're
problem.
gonna love the suburbs.
Yeah, no, that is what people love about the suburbs. Oh, there's such good shopping.
They don't sell cigarettes there either.
Like specifically the fact that like there's not a time of day I can't get something I need. Like if I want pizza at 5 a.m., I could get pizza
Do
at
you
5
find
a.m.
that this is a lie about New York?
I do.
Because
and I think it's a lie that New Yorkers tell.
And here's why I'm going to say this. Because I can't tell you the amount of times that I'm starving at 11:30 at night and going, I have nothing. Where can I
People
go?
are always telling you that you can get a steak at 3 o'clock in the morning. And A, it's not needed. And B, they give one example. When there's fucking, 40,000 restaurants in this city, you know what I mean? There might be one place to get a steak at 4 a.m. But it's never, like you said, it's never, and when you go to that place, it's dead.
Right.
What I want is a diner in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
everyone,
That's
you
all
can have
need.
that. All right, so let's go over the cities. Let's try to divide it down here. You brought up that I always say live in a college town.
Yes.
Is it a college town?
It is a college town. Mind you, I know the number one answer, but I don't know all of the rest. I think
So let's just think number one,
All right.
because I'm already bored of this. Once I heard CVS and pizza at 5. And you are right. New Yorkers try to move that.
They do say that a lot. It bugs me.
The fucking city that never sleep does indeed sleep, as all cities.
It does. And then I'm hungry. It's midnight and I'm hungry.
I mean, you know what you can do in the middle of the night in New York? Watch people polish the floors of giant buildings and hotels.
Feel like
that's who's
that?
up. And I've done overnights in New York, and I'd be like, who's polishing floors tonight? And fucking the lights, the fucking phone lines would just bang out because a lot of overnight people, it's just cleaning crews. Those marble floors, it takes just constant work.
Yeah.
Constant. Terrible. So it is a college town. And you said happiness. Now, I know State College, Pennsylvania, has a happy valley.
It is not State College.
I'm going to also point this out. Happiness cannot be sustained. All right? If you have a constant happy person, I'm going to put that in as mental illness.
I would agree, because what feels good about happiness is you weren't happy just before then.
Right.
You know, when you're just like, oh my God, what a great day, and things just feel very right, it's because yesterday wasn't so great. And that's what makes this
that's
exception.
Interesting. Yeah. That's very interesting. Is this a West Coast place?
I would say it is west, but it is not a West
It's not
Coast
on the coast. So I'm not going to be going to the Portlands of the world. By the way, from what I understand, Seattle's very unhappy now.
Is it?
Really?
Because the tech business has forced out the middle class. Same thing that's happened in San Francisco. Every time that there's something good that happens that everybody wants, it hurts another section. Just like the millennials and their beautiful open hearts and sharing have chased black people out of the city of New York. Something that racists were not able to pull off. Think about that.
They tried.
Racists could not do what accepting, loving people have done. Run out. And that's certainly what they mean by clean up the inner city. Trump still uses inner city as if that's a real thing for black people.
He does.
It's been
lot.
a long time. So it's on the west, but not the West Coast. I'm going to say it's probably in New Mexico, the beautiful state of New Mexico, because there's...
I will say it is a very beautiful place. It's not New Mexico, but I think that keeping in mind the beauty of the area, I think, has a lot to do with
beautiful valley, lushness of the desert, the mountainous region.
Mountainous?
Kind of a Butte, Montana type.
No.
Not exactly, but it's that Butte, Montana type where it's a town. And a town in the mountains, a mountain town.
Yes, it is a mountain town. 100% is a mountain town.
And I've been there and you've been there.
Yes.
I know exactly what we're talking about and we went there when Gail was a little kid. And I actually said I could move here tomorrow. Remember when I said that?
Mm-hmm. You did say it about this place.
It's Boulder, Colorado.
Ding, ding, ding. That is it. Boulder, Colorado.
Now, you might not like it if you don't like hacky sack.
That's true.
I don't mind it.
There was always that they look like they would be into LBDAS. You know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah. Now, when I was a kid and I went there, I thought, because I'd never been around that amount of hippie culture, everywhere, like just regular people walking down the street were hippies, not just one person. Everybody was like this. And then I was just so amazed with we had went there in the summer. So of course they're embracing being out. It was like everybody was outdoors. It felt like a very outdoorsy place. And I remember buying this tie-dye dress when I was in Boulder, like I had my mom help me pick out this tie-dye dress, and I like insisted to wear it while I was there because I was like, they probably think I'm from here. Instead of like feeling like a tourist, I was like, they probably think I'm like a hippie child, because there were a lot of those.
Yes.
Like there were like little dreadlocked white children running around in bare feet, and I was just like, I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Well, you know, the Dead culture, I'm talking about the Grateful Dead, that was a San Francisco thing, and then those people left San Francisco.
Yeah.
And they went to like Taos, New Mexico, and Boulder, Colorado, and Portland, Oregon. So it has reached out all over out there. And you even get it in parts of New England and upstate New York, you know, where they're just like, man, that's where the whole farm to table thing started too, with those kind of people.
Yeah, those types.
And that, to me, that's always been interesting. Of like, well, I got my degree in, you know, economics, but right now I'm just a beekeeper. And you're like, that sounds fucking
so
great.
Cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a great way to live for a while.
You just take honey?
Yeah. And then you find out how hard it is, and then you're just selling this honey, and people don't give a shit.
I only made $14 today, but
like, isn't there a corporation I could go and act like I'm working and steal supplies?
But yeah, I did immediately when I was there, and of course I've not been there in many years. I was just a kid, but immediately got the feeling of just like people were just chill and happy to be. Now, that's another thing. My assumption when I first read this is I thought for sure this was going to be a full, perfect, warm weather kind of town all year round. But this is the kind of place where it gets, you know, really beautiful in the summer, but brutal in the winter.
No, it's not brutal.
It doesn't get brutal?
No, it's a different kind of winter there. Because I've been there in the winter. And, like, you could ski wearing shorts because there isn't
really
that fucking humidity that we have on the East Coast. So it certainly gets brutally cold sometimes, but it's not a harsh winter. It's not like a Buffalo winter at all.
Right.
You know,
well, that sounds perfect to me then.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly, you want the seasons, but you don't want to be destroyed every time like January or February come around.
Chris, where's a happy place for you?
I think Montreal could be pretty happy. Of the cities I've visited, Montreal seems pretty great.
You've never been there in the winter, though.
No, I have not. Only during the summer.
And you've really never gotten out of the place where everyone's obsessed with comedy. I've never been to old Montreal myself, and it's supposed to be beautiful and old churches. But this is, by the way, the list Gail brought up was our country.
Yeah.
United States. And America is the greatest country in the United States. All right, give me some of these, the people that are paying a little more attention.
Santa Cruz, California.
I was going to say Santa Cruz when I said the West Coast. We also traveled through there. Gail.
Yeah.
The only problem with Santa Cruz, all the goddamn vampires.
Charlottesville is third. Charlottesville, Virginia.
A little too Nazi-ish.
Don't know when they wrote this list.
Yeah. This list might have to be relooked.
Why are they so happy?
Fort Collins, Colorado makes it as well.
Yeah,
Another Colorado.
Sure, it's a beautiful place.
Arroyo Grande, California.
I ordered that for breakfast this morning.
And then San Jose, California.
Wait a minute. Go back up there. Where do you... Oh, you didn't do the other part. Yeah, that's the whole thing. That's like a 3...
San Luis Obispo.
That's nice. But Chris, you wouldn't like it because you can't smoke in California.
Yeah, they don't. They would really judge you.
That's a San Jose, Sunnyvale, Santa Clara,
Yeah,
California.
that gets a little expensive. California's nice, though.
Is it San Jose? Is it's expensive over there?
Yeah. San Jose is part of the Bay Area.
All right.
And the whole Bay Area is very expensive.
Orem, Utah, or Provo, Utah.
Really?
Yeah, that's
It's beautiful.
Beautiful area.
Look at that photo of it. It's just like, it looks like a painting.
That is a painting.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Stamford, Connecticut, Bridgeport, Connecticut.
What?
Bridgeport?
Strange.
Both of those are strange.
Bridgeport?
Mm-hmm. Bridgeport.
They say endless cultural experiences nearby.
Yeah,
Okay.
nearby you can take the train in New York.
Yeah, that's what.
I mean, we take a train from a lot of places.
But there's a lot of weird buildings going into that area too. Like You would be surprised how built up that place is now. Because a lot of corporations are like, hey, all of our employees here, why don't we just keep an office in New York, but we'll put the headquarters in Stamford? I mean, I guess it's great that you're close to the WWE. Who wouldn't want
But it seems like that area is a little divided, like a house
Yes,
divided.
it
There's
is.
People who are living well and people who are
very,
not.
very poor. Even New Haven. Like, you're like, oh, I'm going to Yale. It'll be beautiful to walk around the grounds. And then you're like, why is there a security guard in this little motel? Why is he armed? It's a little dicey. I'm very surprised that somebody would put that as the happiest places. And even like some of the upscale thing there, they like got a stick up their ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking live in a community that I got to worry if I'm doing and saying the right thing. You know what I mean? I don't need that.
Can they kick you out of the community if they get angry with you?
In their own way, yes, Chris. They can make it very hard for you.
I live my
We
life.
don't like your kind here.
We're going to be keeping an eye on you. Okay? I got my eye on you, Chris Stanley. I heard that you left that fucking Airbnb like a shithole.
Oh, No. Chris.
Somebody says
It's
that you
disrespectful.
shit in the kitchen sink on your way out, thinking it would be funny to leave that behind.
No, I didn't fill
He
in.
actually wrote on the note, I left something in the refrigerator for you.
Ew, Chris.
You guys like leftovers?
Who
That's
was the
disgusting.
friend another couple?
Yes, another couple, yes.
Dude, you're at the
my
fucking
God,
point.
wait.
You had a couple's vacation.
It was
You-
a couple's vacation.
Like a double couple vacation?
Yes, like a weekend vacation.
That is so
Serious, dude.
hilarious.
That's a serious thing.
Why is it so
I mean,
funny?
I don't do that shit. I've been in a relationship a long time. I've never done that. Like, we go out with this other couple. We
You know
we
what? It's funny
vacation
you just
together.
say that. I've never done that in my life either.
I know.
I can't stand to be around the other couple.
I got very close once, very close to having a couple that like we do everything with, and then they got divorced and then ruined it.
Yeah.
And then I just couldn't love another couple after that.
Plus,
Felt
you're
wrong.
gonna, no matter what you do, you're going to end up hitting on the chick. Just fucking happens. And
Both of us are.
Yeah. Trying to fucking, trying to fuck off the dude. Hey, do we really need him hanging around all the time? And the three of us could be doing everything together. So that was your chick's idea, huh?
Yeah.
You are fucking wrapped around her finger, bro.
I'm deep in this thing, huh?
Yeah. That is that's an adult. That's almost like we're bored with each other and we need another couple.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
That's
settled.
elderly.
That's settled. You're settled in, dude.
I feel very settled in with this young lady.
She's not that young. Let's be honest.
Well, it's age appropriate.
Yeah.
For you,
Surprising.
that's unbelievable.
It's weird.
Is she your exact age?
No, she's younger.
I only met her that one time, but I really liked her.
She's great.
A little handsy.
What? What's that?
I was don't take it the wrong way. I was talking about me. I told her I was James Tobeck of radio. Vito, everybody's in a relationship but you, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty sad to watch everybody else go on couples vacations and bring their significant others to different events, and then I just go home by myself every night.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah,
Leslie's there.
What are you going to do if you can't use Jen as a fucking fake date?
The day Jen gets a boyfriend and I don't have an automatic wedding plus one, I think I just have to start dating again.
By the way, she's down the hall getting our guest, but do you think that she's keeping her dating life away from us?
I think she must be.
There's got to be something going on.
Because I don't think that she's in a serious relationship,
Yeah.
but I think she ablaze the field. I think she's always seeing what's going on. over there.
I don't see it. 'Cause she's always talking about her family, and she's always saying, like, I went with my mom to that thing. I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on.
What are you keeping from us, Jen? Wants some dish on you.
She's very picky too, so I think that would.
She is.
That
I've definitely been in conversations with her before where I was like, I feel like you're being a little hard on that dude.
She goes over his 401k before she goes out for lunch. Somebody said, Ron just described Houston. Come on down. You can stay with us anytime. Our friends Wes and Gina were at the club the other night. They're from Houston. We met them in Austin. Their whole family, remember the whole family came in.
Yeah.
They're the ones that gave us that diner that you guys, that 24-hour diner.
I think it was called 24 Diner.
Yeah, that we ended up using way too much.
So many times.
You would love it, Vito. You can get a hamburger at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Dream.
Yeah. And there's a CVS right across the street for your toothpaste that you, for some reason, he needs awkward hours.
Why'd you forget that?
I don't bring toothpaste on vacations. I always forget, and I have to buy that and deodorant once I land.
Dude, do me a favor. Fucking land right now, because you're smelling.
No!
All right, we got a break, Chris?
Yeah.
Our friend from, well, we don't have it down here, but is Vulture is where he's
Vulture,
from, right?
yes, the comedy editor for Vulture.
Jesse David Fox. He's got season 2 of his podcast, Good One, available now on iTunes. So the whole season is available?
And just the first episode.
Okay, so season 2 of Jesse's podcast is not true.
It's you could get Good One on iTunes. That should have been reworded. That should have been worded differently.
Yeah, because it says season 2. I thought it was like a Netflix thing where you just drop the whole season.
Season 2 has begun.
It's begun, yes.
Vito, when this stuff comes up, he just starts nodding yes, no matter what I'm saying. Yes. Yes, keep saying it. Don't stop. Won't stop. But I love talking comedy with this guy. We'll be right back. Bennington.
Welcome back to Bennington.
Thanks.
And the senior editor at Vulture, Jesse David Fox, is in studio. The premiere episode of the second season of his podcast, Good One, is available now on iTunes and on Twitter at Jesse David Fox.
Well, Chris, you should check Twitter right now to see what's trending, because it's our friend. And for an oral history that you put together.
Yes.
Of David Pumpkins.
Yes, our friend David Pumpkins is trending.
David S. Pumpkins?
David S. David Simon Pumpkins is his full name. A full year to the day, people still care about.
Still love.
They're still loving David Pumpkins.
Wait, is that only a year ago? Because it seems
It's literally,
longer.
Yeah.
It's literally, if you count that it premiered after midnight on the episode, it was exactly this day a year ago.
I remember even watching that sketch going, I guess this is funny. I'm not sure, though. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell if they're just being weird and tired or this is hysterical.
You know what? This is one of those things that I think now I'm like, the David Pumpkins thing. But I actually remember laughing when I watched it and then was more annoyed at how much everyone got obsessed with it. But I was laughing.
I literally can't remember. I just know that it then was like the only sketch anyone ever cared about. That was not political. Everything was, and then like out of nowhere, this thing came about, and then everyone was obsessed, and then everyone kept on talking about it, and then everyone ever talked about how they're talking about it, and then I was like, well, I guess it's a year ago. They're doing this animated thing. How did this come together? It's just sort of, like SNL is, we know sort of the days of the week in which the sketch, how they write everything, but this sketch in particular, which I was so lucky that I got to write about it, every step of the way, the sketch became more of what it became. Like, they started with nothing to do with Halloween or pumpkins or a man day. Mikey liked a breakdown of an old, like, Eastern European rap song. And then there's this video of a young Indian boy dancing to it. And that's sort of all they had. And that's what they pitched. That's what they pitched Tom Hanks. And he's like, I can't break dance. And then they're like, oh, there goes that idea we had. And that was it. And then, literally just, they're sitting, it's 4:00 in the morning on Tuesday when SNL staff writes. And Mikey Day was just like, what about David Pumpkins? With nothing. There's no reason why you would say it. They weren't like, oh, what about a guy who's wearing a suit who's like has things on the suit or something Halloween? Stone silent to, well, what about David Pumpkins?
As though that's a thing that already exists. So it's kind of a David Pumpkins thing.
Yeah, that might work. But you know what? I don't know if you can create this type of thing. Like, it just has to happen.
Yeah.
But now, people are like, we need our own David Pumpkins thing.
100%.
Well, yeah, I mean, they are now sensitive to the fact that they've, like, done a few sketches in the David Pumpkins style before David Pumpkins.
Right.
But now you look back, it's like, oh, they had the sketch Kevin Roberts with Larry David, and they had Johnny Comets, which is also known as Space Pants, with I can't remember his name, Tyrion Lannister, whatever his real name is. And then they did it again with the Z's, but no one really noticed. So now they're like, okay, well, we have to be really careful if we're going to expand this universe. And like, based on this guy, I mean, it's such a combination of things had to happen for it to work, and so many steps along the way could have made it not work, which is the main thing that you realize reading through this history, where like it started and they dance one time, and then it's just David Pumpkins explaining who he is to the people. It's not a ride. It's just an actual haunted elevator. And they're just like, so what's your deal? And then he's just like weird for like 11 minutes while like talk rapping.
Right.
And that's what the sketch was about. Like, wouldn't it be funny if Tom Hanks was talk rapping as a weird guy? And then they read it at the table read and they're like, why is he rapping so much? It's funnier when they're dancing. It's weird when he just sort of shows up and goes away. And then, so that was sort of the sketch. And then when they're blocking it, they're like, Lady Gaga wants to do it. So the sketch was going to end with Lady Gaga as wearing a full suit that had witches on it. And they're like, what's your name? And she was going to go Mrs. David Pumpkins. Not anything addressing the fact that she has witches on her. And that was the sketch until Saturday. That was how it was going to end. And then they're like, Lady Gaga's, the production is too complicated. And you're like, what? So the sketch, which has like actually a particularly good ending for sketch comedy, goes where he scares them at the end and it's and they take a photo. That was like decided like 80 minutes before dress rehearsal.
Right.
And then still even between dress rehearsal and the show, they had to cut a hole in the set to put the camera in a different place. And you're like, wow, this is exactly how you imagine SNL working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, the sketch is built on that. You're like, the sketch was written where every step of the way they're figuring out what was happening, and you watch it, and every step of the way you try to figure out what's happening. And ultimately, they didn't know what they had. We as a society still haven't figured out what we have.
How long before they thought, oh, this thing has caught something after it happened?
It seemed like the next day they were probably getting some tweets, but I think so. As they tell, Tom Hanks had a premiere pretty soon after for Inferno, whatever movie he's promoting, and every question was about David Pumpkins. And they're like, well, this now seems like it's more important than a big movie that Tom Hanks is in. Right. And then I think, especially as the Halloween party complex was building up, and like, you know, by midweek they're hearing that the costume was sold out, and then I think by that Friday, once they're getting every single person they know being like, oh, there's 12 David Pumpkins at this Halloween party, they're like, wow. And then the fact that it kept on going another week is sort of, it's just, the timing is, it really is it was a time right after the debates before the election. It's the fact that it was Tom Hanks doing a weird thing.
Yes.
It was Halloween, and like for a week, all people really want to talk about Halloween. So all these things combined, mixed with like a funny enough sketch to be, in my time of covering SNL, I've never seen a sketch that has sort of no real reason to break out as much as the sketch has.
I remember, I could have used a little more cowbell. That sketch,
right? Yeah. That was similar.
I called up Wally the cue card guy, and I'm like, that might be the best sketch. And then he sent me the sketch over. No, he sent me the cue card signed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we still have it in the office, right?
Yes, we do.
We've never known what to do with it, but we've had it all these years.
Now I should ask the guys to send me over one of their Pumpkins cue cards.
Exactly.
Well, the thing is, we got it the day after. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, yeah. And then that thing, and people started to yell it at, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a ridiculous thing, and you're like, it's the same thing. You have that likable people that people want to repeat. But they've done other sketches. Tom Hanks has done that show 17 times.
But also, Tom Hanks is so famous, and now this is like, he jokes he'll die and it'll be like David, the guy famous for playing David Pumpkins. Where like, at least in the cowbell sketch, you know, Will Ferrell was known for being on the show.
Right.
And Christopher Walken was in it, but no one like. I think that is equally those two people, where this is just something about the faces Tom Hanks, and that was all Tom. Like, as they said, he did not know the voice until he started using it in the sketch. he didn't have that voice in the dress rehearsal.
Right.
He's like, I'm going to figure it out soon.
Well, there's like a one note joke in that thing that to this day is like, well, I'll kind of still stand by it. Like, it is legitimately funny. And it's when he's trying to figure out, like, I don't understand. You're just a guy in a pumpkin suit. And then he's like, and what's the deal with the skeletons? And then in unison, Bobby Moynihan and Mikey Day go, part of it. And I don't know why that was part of it.
And the skeletons. And they talk about how Bobby, who at this point, I think that was his 8th season, he's like, I've never worked harder on any sketch that I've worked on as a performance. And this is at the end, he's like, the dances, which you watch, and you're like, yeah, they seem like they're dancing. They're not even dancing. They're not doing a routine. They're just both sort of dancing at the same time. They are sort of in the same, they stop at the same time and start at the same time. And they're like, all day, they were just constantly being like, okay, and then slap, turn. And you're like, they took it really serious because for this to work, everything had to be serious except for how stupid this thing was. Yeah. Or otherwise, the joke would be just how, like, sort of bad this ride was, where instead the joke was like, wait, why is this the ride?
I have a prediction about Tom Hanks, and remember here,
sure,
he is the next Harvey Weinstein.
Oh my God!
Women are going to come out of the woodwork, to drag him down. It's not this James Toback thing. That's a smoke screen.
You know what? I honestly don't think as a nation we'd recover with the way people feel about.
We would love it though on the way down. We love it. You know what I mean?
Love it on the way down.
Yeah.
I literally can't be like, I don't stand by that. As a journalist of report, please note that on the record that I am not.
Well, you could use me as an anonymous source. Sure. And I think it'll pull some women out. I do. What is it, Chris?
I just want to let everyone know Jesse David Fox is in the studio.
Thank you, Chris.
And the premiere episode of the 2nd season of Jesse's podcast, Good One, is available now on iTunes. And you can read his oral history of David Pumpkins on vulture.com.
Now, with you put Good One, and we take a joke.
Yes.
And we break it down to see why it happened. Do you have the whole 2nd season recorded yet? And you're gonna.
I have a log now of maybe 10, but with the hope that if things pop up, that I will be able to use those for a 3rd season or just sort of extend. So, just because, like, often if I'm ever in LA, I try to do a bunch because there's so many more Canadians end up there. But, like, I believe I'm going to have Taika Waititi on for the 3rd episode right after Thor Ragnarok comes out. He's the director of Thor Ragnarok. So that, obviously, he's only promoting that now. So that one I'll record now. And some other people are in talks. And if Chris Rock for some reason wants to do it tomorrow, I'll record it and I'll release it whenever you want.
You'll be over to his hotel room immediately.
But I tried it. There are certain tiers of people. I'm like, look, if he's ever sort of around and wants to do something like this, I will.
But do you think people first or joke first?
I think people first, because so the thing that I figured out after doing it was ask them to pick the joke, because they have a reason, and I think if I have my main skill as an interviewer is guessing the reason why they picked the joke that they wanted to pick, and it either be like, oh, this is a technical innovation, or this is when I figured out like my persona was going to be the type of guy who I just remember Kyle Kinane had a joke that he picked, which was something like, you ever wake up at 8 o'clock and you look at the clock and it just looks like the world's saying boo or something like that. And it's just like, oh, that was him realizing his persona is sort of like this sort of idealistic, like grumpy, sad guy, but who still sort of looks at the sort of whimsical side of that. Or, Tig Notaro picked the joke she told about seeing Taylor Dane, because that was sort of the joke that one taught her how to do longer jokes and also taught her that she can pull off something if she puts her mind to it. So like Maria Bamford, which is the first episode, she picked, she has a long career. She's been doing stand-up for 20 years or whatever. I thought she'd pick anything from that. And she picked the commencement speech she recently gave at the University of Minnesota. And I was surprised, but I was like, I do like that speech. And it was because, one, the speech like bombed when she did it for the school, so she wants people to realize, like, she put a lot of work into it, so she wants people to enjoy it. But also, she's now fascinated by money. Maria Bamford, the only thing she wants to talk about now is money, and like all the comedy she wants to do is about money. So this was sort of her first like chunk about money, her own money, how people should save money. And so that's sort of what the interview is about, just sort of how she, now that she feels stable mentally, that like, what else does she want to talk about? And all it is sort of like couples therapy and personal finance.
Yeah, it does sound like she's now healthy, because that's the norm of anyone in this country.
Yeah, she literally just would love to tell everyone how much money she makes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, she wanted to tell me how much she makes on her Netflix show, and she's not allowed to, but she's like, I wish I could just sort of
I didn't know that you weren't allowed to say
Netflix doesn't want any information about Netflix out there. Yeah. But she's like, she's talking about how she's now trying to open shows by telling telling the people how much money she got paid for that show.
That's hilarious. I only know one other person who will do that comfortably, and that's Artie Lang. And
Really?
I've seen him in interviews. It was like, I'm going to this place, I'm going to make $35,000. And he brought up like some retirement, like when people were worried about him for being a junkie, he would just brought up his certain retirement funds that he has. That's money I don't even touch. It's very comfortable. But it is funny because money is one of those things that people will talk about sex before money.
Oh, absolutely. I would much rather ask somebody about their sex life than ask them what their salary is. I think that would be so inappropriate.
But that's the thing. She's as she sort of destigmatized us talking about mental illness in public, she's going to take down big us talking about money.
Dude, I did a crowdsource one night where we were all together, and I'm like, all right, everyone hold their hands up if you make more than 10,000. If you make more than 20,000, we went through the whole room. And when people start dropping down, I'm like, dude, your chick still has her hand up.
Right.
It was fucking so much fun. And I was surprised.
Did you notice anyone not doing it, though? Did anyone be like, I won't even raise my hand for this?
No, everybody did.
I bet there's people that are like, let's pick when a good amount of people are lowering their hands and we'll do that. Like, whichever is the amount where you're not be like, oh, so you make 70. Like,
right.
Let's say if it's 12, it's like, okay, right. We're all agreeing that we all make $75,000 a year.
I was amazed that the highest paid person, this is in Manhattan, in that room, only made $125,000.
Really?
And I was like, yes.
That's surprising for...
Yeah, but it was New York Comedy Club, not to Cellar. I'm sure the Cellar...
It's a different vibe.
And then Caroline's, forget about it.
Yeah.
Caroline's the people coming in from Connecticut.
There's people with their arms still in the air. But it was a weird, tense thing. And I've done that before of what drugs that you've done, right? Like going through, I did that in Montreal.
Yeah.
And I thought people there were embarrassed when they're like, no, I never tried coke. You know what I mean? Because it is like, I guess I'm not that edgy.
You like peer pressuring adults.
Yes. Right. Well, I do say to young people, I go, this is your time. If you're ever going to do acid, it's now. You're not going to do it when you're 40.
Yeah, you don't want to.
And I go, you got to go out and get chlamydia. These are the things, if you're not going to hold up a liquor store now, it's never going to happen. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to hold up a liquor store. The rush that you get of knowing you got to be, it's not about the money. You're not going to make that much money, but the rush is tremendous.
Doing cocaine.
Yes, you'll get enough to get cocaine, but when you put that gun out there, you're like, this is already 5 years I'm looking at. It's very exciting.
And it's only going up from here. Every act I do.
But people will want to ride a big wave or climb a mountain. That's never as exciting as you're being looked for, and there's a sketch. There's a sketch of you right now.
I mean, it's basically being famous for a week or until you're caught or so.
Yeah.
Which is hard to, for other people, it usually takes a good amount of hard work, but it's pretty easy to guess. It's pretty easy to get a gun. You just go into any store.
The thing is like when you see like the sketch that they're looking for and they put it in the local paper, and you go like this. Am I really this fat? Am I really that fat? Tell me the truth.
And that's why it was your rock bottom. You're like, I really am a fat person. I'm living too gluttonously.
By the way, I do notice this, that all the body shamers are happy enough to call James Stovak and Harvey Weinstein old fat pigs. And I'm like, that's body shaming.
You're allowed to body shame.
He's just a rapist.
I was reading someone, I think my coworker on Twitter was like, we should probably not also be calling Harvey Weinstein fat and ugly. That doesn't seem like we are, like, and you understand the impulse, but you're like, well, I don't know if that sort of elevates the sort of discourse or like it is still harmful to call him that. And I think, I mean, it's not to justify what he did, but it seemed like him thinking of himself as like a fat, disgusting person was like part of his sort of like psychopathic.
I would agree. Because why does he always want to be massaged and always take his fucking penis out? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, look at me. I'm hideous. And like part of it would turn them on. They're like, oh God, Artie, please. I want to be in the movie. So I'm not running out because this movie looks so good. Now, you had heard for years that Harvey was like a jerk and an asshole. But had you ever met him?
No, I've not. I mean, it's a thing of I before I was a journalist, I worked at a major talent agency, and lots of people are assholes. Like like the amount of sort of regular sort of harassment unrelated to sexual that exists to being an assistant at a talent agency. So you're just like, oh, he's one of the people that are assholes.
Right.
I had not heard any sort of differentiation between him and any of the other sort of assholes that are
he
assholes.
seemed like somebody that would throw, like Scott Rudin, throw phones at people. Yeah. Like, his own people. Just throw a phone at them. But that's what we were like, oh, he's good. He cares. He's chucking phones at people. He's screaming. He wants this movie to do great. But we didn't know the rape stuff. But the thing with Harvey, because he's done this show a couple of times, he has a very seductive personality. Like, he would text me after, like, hey, that really went great. And I'd be like, no one ever texts afterwards.
I think sometimes they send thank you emails to Chris.
That's not right. You don't let me know.
I let you know.
No, you don't.
I don't say like, ooh, that really meant a lot to me, but I'm like, thank you again for having me on to promote my podcast that is out today.
Chris, this is the thing. This is why you aren't like a real social media person.
No, I'm not. No, I'm a strange man. But I also want to let everyone know Jesse David Fox is in the studio.
You have to get out of it.
And the premiere episode of the second season of Jesse's podcast, Good One, is available now on iTunes and on Twitter at Jesse David Fox.
I want to throw my phone at you, but I don't want it to break. I'm just going to throw my earbuds at you.
You need to get a good case for that, for all the throwing.
But the entire idea of being successful, when you get there, you're going to be successful, you're going to be powerful, you're going to have money and drugs and sex. That's done in this country now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so different than, if I remember correctly, like from working at William Morris. Now I think I should have named the place. Working at an agency that may or may not have been that one, that has a history. You sort of hear what it used to be like.
Right.
And be like, oh, there used to be like, and they're probably fake stories of like, oh, every desk had like a line, from when they did cocaine. Or like, this person had a door that they could shut with a little button. And you're like, that probably didn't happen. But the main thing is that you definitely could tell that it was a workplace that was defined by people doing cocaine during the day. And now it is not, at least during the day, expected.
Right. Well, there's this new Rolling Stone book that already Jan Warner is like, fuck this guy. I'm not going to promote this book.
Yeah.
But he said in their photography departments, back when there were still labs and stuff, those guys had hung up pictures of everyone doing coke with them, right? And there were 200 pictures that would hang up. So when you would go down to see them, you're like, oh, look, rock stars, movie stars. Here's the office girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people for some reason, were ashamed of our sex, drugs, and rock and roll past. We want to act like it wasn't about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And the fact is, it was for many, many years.
It might be that cocaine is illegal, and maybe they don't want it to be. I mean, like,
seriously,
who's going to see a photo and then go report them? But
there's a lot of things that are illegal and are fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I guess that famous Beatles photograph is them jaywalking.
Right. There you go.
That's
perfect.
fun.
And that's revered.
I am always surprised, though, when people... Why can't you just say, well, we were younger then, and we didn't even know cocaine was that bad? It was the early 2000s. How are we supposed to know?
There's nothing out there about how bad cocaine was.
Nobody knew. We didn't know racism was so awful. It was part of what was happening.
Well, Harvey tried to do that. He was like, I was a child of the 60s. And it's like, the raping 60s? Like, I don't know if that was the phrase. You know how we were all raping everyone.
I think he said that without knowing that other people had more evidence.
Yes.
Right.
Like, I think it's like, oh, I was a child of the 60s, because all they know is that I did this, like, sexual harassment. Then as more came forward, it's like, I'm going a few minutes.
Yeah, the decade does not explain that one.
All right, who else you got this season? By the way, you're talking to some of the funniest people.
Yeah.
And people have always been afraid to break down comedy.
Yeah, and the one season was enough to tell people that everyone else is doing it, so I think comedians are now accept that. Because I didn't know if they'd say, I came up with the idea, and I started it, and then I was like, I hope people will do it. And then I think having Jim Gaffigan as the first episode, and him being like, this is fun, and then I can be like other people, like, look, this is a fun thing we're doing. You don't have to do this every interview, but it's one space where you're safe to explain that you work hard.
Yes.
Right? So first episode's Maria Bamford. I think the second episode's going to be Ron Funches. Third might be Taika, and then Will Forte is going to explain one of the jokes from MacGruber. Bill Burr.
And by the way, have you talked to Forte yet?
Yeah.
He is such a amazingly strange cat, right? I mean, it's so weird that a lot of his, I mean, these aren't jokes.
No.
You know what I mean? They're annoyances that go so far. And how is that also funny?
He is one of the most instinctual, like, it was actually interesting to talk to him because he's like, this was the thing. Right. In my head, I had this idea of what would be a funny sex scene. So we just sort of started doing it. And he's all instinct. So it's interesting to talk to a person who's that compared to when you talk to a lot of these people who are like incredibly like deliberate about what they're doing.
Right.
I did Bill Burr. Like the most deliberate person I think I've ever interviewed, and I've interviewed Jerry Seinfeld, is Roy Wood Jr. Have you ever interviewed him?
Yes. He's great.
How intentional he is with how he writes a joke is, I've never seen anything like that. He watches all comedy to see what everyone is already talking about, to make sure he doesn't talk about even anything close to them. And then he sort of like completely writes it, and then he tests it in each room very specifically. He's like, okay, do the Cellar for a week, and then I'll start doing it a little bit in a Brooklyn room. And then once I kind of go back and forth, then I start bringing it to black rooms. And based on that feedback, I then go back to and
holy shit. I thought he was just bouncing around town. I'm like, Roy's always out.
No, he is always out, but everything he's doing, every bit he's doing is specifically like, okay, now I'm going to bring this to like alternative rooms because it's time to see where I can go if I can be open it up a little bit more. And then once he gets it to a certain point, and then he's like, okay, now it's enough, ready for a special. But what do I remove for it to be a thing that could be televised? So he has this joke about there's no such thing as black patriotism. And originally that joke started because of Colin Kaepernick, but in the special he never mentions Colin Kaepernick because now he wants to have a joke that sort of can exist, that you don't have to be in the moment to understand, and to get the point across that is these things aren't new. Like this sort of idea that black people have this sort of complicated relationship with patriotism.
Yeah.
As a joke is like black people, it's sort of they what was it? They're not patriotic. They sort of they're cities where they can have a good time or something like that.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I want to have a joke that sort of at any point you can watch this and be like, oh, that resonates to my experience right now. And it was fascinating. And I was just like, you are like, as a person who studies people who are this particular about joke writing, he is like another degree beyond everybody else.
And I always find this fascinating. It's like when people talk about lifted material, it's not like Roy Wood and Gaffigan could switch acts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that Gaffigan does that if I was doing it, you guys would be like, are you okay right now? He's talking about you know what I mean? But you're buying a certain Gaffigan persona.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of stuff that he's talking about, some of it is quite sad if taken out of the context of stand-up.
Or that's the thing. It's like part of the joke is just like, here's a man who's now spent his entire life making money talking about how bacon is good.
Yeah.
And so, yes, the joke is sort of him saying different things about bacon, but the main joke is here's a grown person who you paid $150 to see to tell you that, like, bacon's good on everything. You add bacon to this, and that's good. and it's true, and it's like it's well crafted, but like ultimately, and I always talk about this with sort of every people that we think of as sort of joke writers, still they are persona-based comedians. Like the example I love to use, like Mitch Hedberg. Everyone's like, oh, his jokes are just the best jokes. He's not just some more like flashy comedian who can like do but he's going on stage deliberately presenting a guy who's mumbling with sunglasses on into a microphone,
not looking.
That's part of those jokes.
Yeah,
right.
If those jokes didn't come from Mitch Hedberg, they would just look like a weird sentence written down. But you're like, oh, that's sort of his brain, and it's all part of the presentation. Like, yeah, he's not breakdancing to sell a punchline, but he's still presenting himself.
And also, somebody was telling me, like, even the week maybe before he passed away, he was in his hometown and wasn't selling out the club that weekend.
Really?
Like, everybody just remembers it as this explosive thing.
Yeah.
But it's always up and down with a comic. And it's really fascinating in New York to see Jim Gaffigan walk into an audience that isn't his. You know what I mean? Like, he goes out in a theater, and those people are so pumped. But he can walk up in places in New York that they kind of know him, and they're just like, well, talks about bacon a lot.
That's like, that's like the Mike Birbiglia joke he did in his last special, which is like you guys, like, I know I'm somewhat famous. You guys are here,
right?
But I also know well enough that once you told somebody what you're doing tonight, they're like, who?
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a lot of comedians, especially now with like how fractured the media landscape is, that have their sort of people that, and almost all those people think they're sort of the only fan of that person. And then, I mean, you know, like John Mulaney, who sort of has now become so tremendously big as a stand-up comedian since he's not been on television. Like, he had a TV show. It didn't go as we wanted it to. And then he's sort of like, okay, I'm the stand-up comedian. And since, you know, he's selling out 4 nights at the Radio City or what, 4, that's 20,000 tickets.
Yes.
And where if you told your, you know, I actually feel like a lot of parents know who John Mulaney is because he's the comedian people suggest to their parents. But there is a thing of
but
like,
it is true. What you're saying is true. There are plenty of people who don't know John Mulaney.
Yeah.
And that never happened with, let's say, David Brenner or Don Rickles. They were known people.
Yeah.
Doing the same size rooms that people are doing now. You know what I mean? It's not like they were bigger comics. They would, you know, go to these same things.
Do you feel that there's more or less, I don't want to say like integrity to the art form, but like, is there something there because you get to speak to the people who are going to be into you? You're speaking to an audience who's very specific to you rather than trying to appease to everyone.
Yeah, but I think that is easier to do than trying to appease. To walk into people who go, oh, he kind of made a racist joke, but I know this dude, he's not a racist. But if you go into, let's say, the Cellar or the Stand, and you do a joke like that, people are like,
I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're not racist. Not.
Yeah.
And I don't know what if I look like if I laugh at that joke. Audiences are so different now than they were years ago. I never heard back in the 90s, adults going, ooh, if someone did a joke. And you hear that every show.
Yeah, it is weird that phenomenon has become, that specific part of the phenomenon of like whatever being politically correct or not politically correct, or is that the oohing that has now come over as like an audience reaction. But I think I think we've talked about it. It's like, well, too bad that's now how the audience is reacting.
Right.
You can't, you can't both say like, oh, well, the audience is always right, except for this one thing where the audience is always wrong. Like, the audience is the audience, and the jokes that they accept or want to laugh at are the jokes they're going to have laughed at. And if you're a good enough comedian, which the best comedians are, then this is now the thing that you have to figure out how to deal with. And I think always the debate of the benefit of playing to an audience that sort of knows who you are, or is one, they're listening, so you can do a little bit more nuanced material, can talk a little bit longer. You can be more yourself, right? And then, but the question always is then like, well, is the comedian's job to be sort of funny to everyone? And Maria Bamford specifically is like, I'm not funny to everyone. She opens her sets saying, Some of you might have been brought here by a friend. It's totally okay if you don't find what I do funny or comfortable. You can go outside. The tickets weren't that expensive. I'm sorry. I'm not offended. I know I'm a specific thing, but she doesn't care to be not that. She she's carved out a thing. She's incredibly good at being Maria Bamford, and that's all she sort of wants to do. And I think ultimately it's an interesting debate, but I fall under if you want to be a comedian that makes everyone laugh, you're a comedian that makes everyone laugh. But don't demand every comedian is a comedian that does that.
Yeah.
Every comedians are individuals. That's like the reason I created this podcast, the reason I write about comedy is to convey to people, comedians are individuals. They are not people that you hire to make you laugh. And so some comedians want to make everyone laugh because that's their thing. That makes them think like they're a man that's tough or whatever. Yeah. And some people are like, no, I want to be a specific thing and only that. Like I don't think Julio Torres is like, oh, I want to figure out how to convince people to understand these like weird sketches about fonts. He's like, this speaks to me, and I think I'm fine with him being a person that writes those sketches and whatever the comedian X who's like, my goal as a comedian is to make everyone laugh. I think both can exist at the same time, and we don't need to expect one person to do one or the other.
I think it's one of the more fascinating things, though, is like what is better, because I really do think that when you get your audience, it immediately limits you whether you like it or not. And that's just not true of comedy, it's true for actors and rock bands and then some people be like, why is Clint Eastwood still doing that Clint Eastwood thing? Wasn't that it? Wasn't that what he brought to this?
Yeah, it's hard because comedy is an art form that you're responding based on what the audience is telling you, and then so I think it's basically like I think a lot of live shows are really good, and then when you put it and you film it, then you put it online, an interesting thing happens because the people that were in that room aren't there anymore. So and the people who know you and give you a benefit of doubt. So like, I know, like a guy like Bill Burr, who I think is really the best at sort of this thing he does, where he sort of starts with the thing that it will offend even his audience.
He digs a hole.
And then gets out of it, right?
Yeah.
But the amount of time he takes to get out of it is now much longer than it used to be. He usually kind of gets out of it within 4 or 5 minutes. In the joke he picks for my episode, he starts with sort of the like, fat actresses aren't brave or whatever. It's sort of, and he sort of says it. And it takes 11 minutes to him to get to the point where he's like, ultimately, like, I'm an actor and I wouldn't cast me in anything because I wouldn't sell anything because I am too ugly to be in Hollywood or whatever. And all of it is sort of that is, if you watch all of that, you're like, oh, I get it. And because he has an audience, and because he's done such a good job of building an audience with the podcast and just sort of touring, is they give him a lot of time to get to that point.
Sure.
But if you've seen him on Breaking Bad or whatever, just heard that Bill Burr's this great comedian, you watch this special, the fear that I sort of always have is people turn it off before they get to the part where, this is somewhat similar. Do you know the show Vice Principals?
Yes,
Yeah. You did the panel. So the season 2 of Vice Principal, I think, is one of the greatest comedic achievements that I've seen. And I interviewed Danny McBride right before it about the fact that maybe people have not gone to season 2 because all these things they did to sort of make people uncomfortable in season 1 actually were to a point of uncomfortable that they stopped watching.
Yeah.
Like as he said, they made episode 2 incredibly harsh to sort of be like, this is the tone of how bad is it going to get. They burned down a woman's house.
Yes.
And got away with it.
Yeah.
And the reality is, and he's not sure. He's like, imagine if we put them all up at once, people might have gotten to it. But we did it week to week to make people sit in it, to really feel how bad the bad is, so that when you get to the relief, it's sort of that more exciting. And it literally, we're talking about the last shot of the first season was like the relief of that first season. But the problem is, you might get half your audience not get to that point.
Sure.
And I don't know what this, and that's the hard part, right? It's like, it's the alternate version of the same thing we're talking about, which is like, you can sort of walk along an edge, and even if you're incredibly good at it, the problem is people might be turned off, and you don't know what their reaction to the edge would be unless people tell them you have to watch all of Vice Principals.
Have you seen the documentary yet on the Dana Carvey?
Oh, no, I
literally is everything that you're talking about. The first sketch that they did,
yeah,
you know what I mean, was freak people out so much that where you're ever going to get back. And you look at it, and there's stuff that they show in your show, and you're like, yeah, that's brilliant. But I'm not in that. I'm not in 1996.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting there with my family watching Home Improvement.
I'm trying to think if I remember watching that sketch, and I can't remember if I then turned it off. I know I watched it, and I know I watched an amount of Dana Carvey sketches now in my life, but I do feel like I probably was like, I was young, and I had as my biggest regret as a sort of young comedy fan is like things that were sort of creepy, I was creeped out by.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember I loved Kids in the Hall, but like some sketches, the makeup on the bird lady or whatever.
Yeah, right. So weird. Yeah.
Weirded me out. So I was like, I literally remember every time that character would come up, I would change the channel.
It's very disturbing.
Kids in the Hall are like the beginning of that. They're gigantic with the people who love them, but not necessarily. They were never mainstream stars the way previous.
Yeah.
What do you need, Chris?
I just want to plug Jesse David Fox is in studio in the premiere episode of the second season of Jesse's podcast. Good One is available now on iTunes, and you can read his oral history of David Pumpkins on vulture.com and on Twitter at Jesse David Fox.
It's hot right now. Are you telling me we're wrapping up?
Yes, we're wrapping up.
Why? It seems like we're going early today.
No, that's
the time of the show.
That's the time.
Now, Jesse sends a nice thank you note. Are you going to report it to me?
I'm going to forward that to you post haste.
Post haste?
CC me, please.
I'll CC Gail.
Yes.
Yeah. CC Gail.
Should Vito be in on that, or you leave him out?
At least BCC.
I can't be CC. I don't want him seeing what you guys got.
Dude, congratulations to you. I'm looking forward to the season 2, and you're trending big today. Today's your day.
Today's my day.
Today's your day.
Big trending day. It's all for me, not for the character that I read about. It's all there. My name is trending now on Twitter.
All right. Thanks to Ricky Gervais for popping in here. Have you gotten him yet?
No, I've asked.
Yeah.
Well, I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on the Gervais.
And we'll see you guys again in 1974.
Ladies and gentlemen, the evening is over. We hope you all enjoyed yourselves, and we'll see you all again in 1974. Good evening!